Shifa sat silently, sword in hand, as his sister guarded him. Raised beneath her shadow, her strength shaped him. Every lesson carved resolve into him, forged for a path ahead. The city stood tall beneath them. Rose led the way, fearless and proud. Shifa followed her closely, unsure of his place. Today marked the beginning of their first mission together. They landed before the academy gates, fists raised. Shifa smiled with confidence while Rose stayed alert. Trials awaited inside. He would prove his strength, not just as her brother, but himself. In the forest, Rose stood beside a boulder, calm and smiling. She challenged him again. Shifa struck with all his strength, shouting loudly. The rock cracked. Her test had begun. Shifa's arms trembled as the sword shook. The boulder stood firm. Panic grew. He thought of Rose, believing she was just average. He had to split it, or he would fail. The boulder split clean in half. Shifa blinked, stunned, then nodded to himself. To him, this was expected. Rose did it all the time. Adventurers were simply strong, like that. Shifa walked deeper into the woods. Rose called out the next drill. He braced himself. Flames exploded ahead. Her words echoed again. If he wanted it, he had to endure. Weapons rained around the field as Rose's test launched skyward. Shifa watched the destruction in awe. To him, this was routine. She always trained like this. It was normal. They lived far from cities. Just him and Rose. She fought, earned, and taught. He trained, dreamed, and endured. Their life was quiet but strong. He owed everything to her. Rose flew toward Shifa and hugged him tightly. She praised his training, then teased him about dragons. Shifa blushed, unsure what adventurers did, but grateful she always believed in him. In town, Shifa saw joyful adventurers. They looked brave and free. He listened to stories about battles and heroes. Slowly, a desire grew. He wanted that life too someday. One day he spoke clearly. He wanted to see the world. He couldn't rely on Rose forever. She paused, surprised, then smiled. If he was serious, she would help him. A year had passed. Shifa still couldn't split stone or slay dragons. Rose remained dazzling. Children admired her. He smiled, proud but uneasy. His goal felt distant but not impossible. Rose reminded him again. To be an adventurer, he had to grow stronger than anyone. Equal footing with her, a duel began. Shifa braced himself for the hardest part. Their training moved to a fiery land. Monsters roamed freely. She called it the Valley of the Flame Emperor. It was deadly. Rose smiled. For Shifa, it was just training. Rose gave him one goal, defeat every monster in the valley. Shifa clenched his fists. He would protect her someday, not just follow. He would become strong enough to lead. Rose smiled and handed him lunch. He nodded. With that, he rushed in. Monsters attacked from all sides. He fought without pause. No retreat. The test had truly begun. He cleared the valley. But Rose already had a new place. The thundering hills, snowy peaks, a dark castle. Each step forward brought tougher foes. Still, Shifa never stopped moving. Rose brought stacks of books. Shifa groaned but obeyed. She said knowledge was power too. To be superclass, he needed brains and strength. So he studied, trained, and endured both. 4 years had passed. Shifa remembered his promise. Her words stayed with him. They carried him through every hardship. His skills were sharpened by her. He had become someone strong. Surrounded by books and echoes of battle, Shifa closed his eyes. He thought of her. Rose stood nearby, smiling. His journey wasn't over, but he had truly begun it. Sword in hand, Shifa stepped forward. Rose teased him with a grin. This was a real match. 1-on-1. He readied himself. It was time to face his teacher. He screamed and charged, blade raised. Today, he would prove it. She watched closely. His footwork was sharp. His feint clever. She smiled slightly. He was ready to move ahead. Their blades clashed. Shifa dodged just in time. Rose swung hard, but he saw it coming. He reacted, focused, confident. His training echoed in every move. He had learned well. Shifa lunged in full force. Rose blocked but stumbled. For the first time, she was off balance. A rare chance opened. He saw it. He had to take it. Blade ready, Shifa aimed to disarm her. He moved fast, reading her form. Then, another sword met his. A second opponent entered. His chance was gone. Rose regained her stance. Thrown back, Shifa hit the ground. Doubt crept in. He had lost again. Questions filled his mind. Was he truly ready? Could he ever win? Was this his limit? Rose finally acknowledged him. Shifa had earned the right to chase his dream. She smiled proudly. He had even forced her to use a second sword. His growth was clear. Shifa beamed as Rose offered to teach him more. They would register together soon. She hugged him tight in front of others. He laughed. He didn't mind anymore. Seasons changed. Shifa stood taller, now 15. He felt like an adult. No longer ashamed, he called himself an adventurer. The world waited. He was ready to take the step. Shifa had trained for years to master Rose's magic. Storage magic was hardest. She taught him everything. Now, standing at the gates, he was ready to prove it all. They arrived at the Grand Guild. The city bustled around them. Rose looked proud. This was where adventurers registered. This was the start of his official journey. His heart pounded. Inside, they were met with stares. Rose handled the paperwork. Shifa would train with others now. Party combat, teamwork, all of it. He stepped forward, unsure but excited. Rose waved goodbye. Shifa walked alone through the towering halls. He felt small but determined. Every step echoed louder. He was ready to stand on his own from here. A woman greeted him. She already knew his name. Rose had prepared everything. Others watched curiously. Some doubted him. He felt the pressure, but he nodded and followed in. Eyes turned as he entered the classroom. He moved to the back quietly. Every face was unfamiliar. Still, he smiled to himself. This was it. His new journey had started. Shifa tripped into the room. A desk flew toward him. He dodged just in time. A sharp girl glared at him. Her tone was fierce. She didn't like delays. She scolded him for being late. Her words stung, her attitude bold. Shifa sat down, confused by her pride. She wasn't like Rose. Beautiful, yes, but her aura was cold. The instructor stepped forward. Yulina Igraine, a famed adventurer, introduced herself. Gasps spread through the room. Shifa blinked. Their teacher was a legend. Training here might be tougher than expected. Yulina warned them. 1 year of harsh training. Shifa stayed composed. He knew this pace. No part of him would falter. He had prepared too long to be shaken now. Introductions began. Boasts filled the room. One claimed he bested ogres. Shifa had 2, years ago. He smiled quietly. He wouldn't show off, but he wasn't going to hide. A shy girl struggled to speak. She apologized. Shifa understood her nerves. He wasn't great at talking either. Another student rose loudly. More personalities appeared. This class would be unpredictable. Leanne stood boldly. She introduced herself with pride, boasting her sister's strength. The class reacted loudly. Shifa stayed quiet, watching her energy. Everyone here carried pride or ambition of some kind. Shifa stood last. Calmly, he shared his name and skill. Storage magic. Sister had trained him. He believed in it. Few others even knew what it really was. Laughter erupted. They mocked the name. Shifa was confused. His pride met disbelief. They didn't understand the value. Still, he stood firm. That magic, taught by Rose, had real strength. Shifa froze. Their laughter kept going. He stayed quiet, gripping his thoughts. They didn't understand his training or his sister's strength. But their words stung deeper than he expected. Leanne stepped forward. She mocked his skill and insulted Rose. Shifa's eyes sharpened. Calm left him. He asked her to take it back. She didn't. The class grew tense. Yulina stepped in. A mock battle was arranged. Shifa didn't hesitate. He wouldn't let his sister be insulted. Win or lose, he'd stand for her. The class watched eagerly. They stood in the arena. Shifa breathed steady. Everyone expected him to lose, but he couldn't let that happen. He owed Rose at least 1 hit for the insult. A girl named Ruelle spoke kindly. She wished him luck. Shifa introduced himself awkwardly. Her presence calmed him. For a moment, the pressure faded. Then the Ruelles were explained. Yulina laid out the terms: no killing, no limit. Win by force or surrender. Shifa tightened his grip. Leanne was confident. Her strength was real. He would fight with caution. Leanne questioned his stance. Shifa didn't draw his weapon. He trusted storage magic. She mocked him, but he stayed firm. He had learned to read the fight before acting. She charged fast. The crowd gasped. Her speed was real. Shifa remained calm, watching. This was the skill they praised. She came in hard. He didn't flinch. With a breath, Shifa moved. He dodged, quiet and controlled. She was stunned. This wasn't luck. It was the result of years training under Rose. Now it was his turn. Shifa recalled Rose's lesson. The sword she gave him could cut, stab, or strike, a weapon for any situation. With steady breath, he summoned it through storage magic once again. Shifa drew the holy sword. Its glow lit the field. The audience stared in silence. This was no common blade. He took his stance, calm and prepared for the first strike. He called its name, Durand. The blade burst forth, shining with power. Gasps rose from the crowd. Leanne froze mid-step. This was not the weapon of a weakling. Shifa swung hard. Leanne barely avoided the strike. She stumbled but recovered fast. His blade missed, but his stance was firm. He wasn't panicked. The next move was ready. He remembered Rose's advice. The spear worked best against magic users. Easy to throw. Dangerous if it landed. He summoned it next. A quick chant brought it forth. He launched the spirit spear fast. It cut through the air, glowing. Leanne darted sideways. Her reflex surprised him. She moved sharply, weaving past the attack with unpredictable motion. Shifa studied her carefully. He still couldn't read her strength. If she got serious, it could shift fast. He decided now was the moment to end it with certainty. He recalled Rose's fire drills. Precision, force, and flame. He summoned the gauntlets. They spun with magic, kinetic energy building. He had tuned the strength just enough to avoid real harm. With a shout, Shifa struck. Dragon Hand Flame Emperor. Fire surged around him. The arena cracked beneath the blow. He pushed forward, one last turn to test her guard completely. Just as Shifa struck, Yulina stepped in. The match was stopped. Leanne had reached her limit. Shocked, Shifa questioned it. But the decision was final. The duel had ended. Shifa didn't realize how much pressure he applied. Yulina explained calmly. If it continued, Leanne could have been hurt. His attack had gone too far. The crowd stared silently. Gasps filled the air. Some cheered. Others were stunned. Even Ruelle smiled softly. Shifa looked around, unsure what to feel. He didn't understand. Why did everyone seem so amazed? After the duel, Shifa was questioned again. His answer was simple. Rose called it normal training. Others were stunned. His power wasn't normal. It raised more questions than answers. He stood smiling while classmates stared in disbelief. To them, it seemed like he had survived something outrageous. No one could explain it. All they knew was he was strong. The arena filled with smoke as Shifa stepped back. Leanne, trembling with frustration, refused defeat. She pointed at him, her pride shattered by someone underestimated for using storage magic. Ruelle clenched her fists and spoke firmly. Shifa's storage magic felt unusual. He insisted it was basic, explaining how his sister had trained him to master its use and focus. Ruelle explained that Shifa's power came from a rare skill called ultra-speed storage. In real battle, such speed allowed him to summon legendary weapons without hesitation or visible delay. Ruelle revealed that only one person could use ultra-speed storage. Everyone froze when she said the name Rose the War Maiden. Shifa stood stunned. That was his sister's name. Ruelle confirmed Rose Alion was one of 4 top adventurers. Shifa blinked in disbelief. His cheerful sister, always smiling at home, was a feared weapon-switching warrior across the continent. Ruelle explained the adventurer grade system. Rose had reached the highest tier, known globally. Her skill, authority, and power were unmatched, trusted enough to guard humanity from extreme dungeon threats. As tension rose, Ruelle declared that Shifa's sister surpassed all others. Then she stunned everyone, revealing they were fiancés through a promise made between their older sisters years ago. Shifa sat stunned in the instructor's office. He had no idea about his sister's fame or the engagement. Her strict training had secretly earned him exemption from mid-level promotions. The instructor pointed out Shifa's overwhelming strength. His ability was far beyond normal. If left unchecked, it could accidentally kill in mock battles. Shifa began realizing how serious things were. Yulina informed Shifa he would now live under her care. With Rose away fighting high-risk demons, it was time for him to learn life beyond the mountain's isolation. Yulina told Shifa to rest before outdoor training. Lying in bed, he stared at the ceiling. So much had changed. He wondered what tomorrow's challenge would bring. Morning arrived in Cardio West Forest. Shifa joined the others for training. Ruelle clung close, calling herself Ruelle. Flustered by her boldness, Shifa greeted the team with nervous energy. Shifa greeted Leanne, who responded with reluctance. Yulina gathered the group and announced their new assignment. Today, they would act as real adventurers, though not yet face dangerous monsters. Yulina explained their mission. The trainees would subjugate monsters near the edge of the forest. Only levels 1 and 2 were permitted. Deeper zones and stronger monsters were off limits. Ruelle launched a freezing strike with perfect aim. Her magic was both versatile and accurate. Shifa watched quietly as she fought with ease, accepting her rhythm and staying close behind. Shifa quietly gathered monster parts while conserving energy. He wanted to avoid standing out. As they prepared to leave, a sudden cry echoed. A cockatrice had appeared unexpectedly nearby. A massive cockatrice descended from above. Everyone froze. It was a level 4 threat, completely out of place. Confusion spread. No one expected such danger in a level 2 zone. Shifa told the others to get the wounded to safety. Though hesitant, they saw the injured. Time was short. Shifa stepped forward alone, facing the cockatrice without hesitation. Leanne stepped in with sword drawn, determined to face the beast. The others hesitated, worried. The cockatrice shifted its focus, and its roar shook the ground around them. Shifa realized the air was poisoned. As panic rose, he warned Leanne. She charged anyway. The others scrambled. Suddenly, the poison dispersed. Leanne stood defiant, unfazed by the danger. Leanne pushed forward, urging the others to leave. Shifa and Ruelle refused, unwilling to abandon her. As the cockatrice loomed, the trio stood together, ready to face it head-on. Ruelle admitted Leanne was powerful. Shifa agreed she had strength beyond their rank. As the cockatrice tried to escape, Leanne charged. They had to hold it off until help arrived. They realized the chase had taken them into the forest's forbidden zone. Shifa warned Leanne to stop, but she pressed forward, determined to defeat the cockatrice alone. A monstrous beast emerged from the shadows, its jaws wide enough to swallow them whole. Shifa, Ruelle, and Leanne froze. This creature was far beyond anything they had faced. The pterosaur's roar shattered the ground. Ruelle screamed. Leanne froze. Shifa remained still, eyes wide. As panic took over, Yulina shouted. They had to run or be wiped out completely. A massive pterosaur descended from the sky, its size dwarfing all else. Ruelle panicked. This was a level 5 threat. None of them were ready for a battle like this. Leanne stepped forward again, trying to act strong. The pterosaur roared fiercely, warning them. Ruelle clutched Shifa's arm, trembling. They were no longer seen as students, but prey. Leanne gripped her sword tightly, shouting for them to flee. Ruelle hesitated. Shifa saw the truth. Leanne was scared, but still standing. She knew she didn't stand a chance. Shifa stepped forward, shielding Leanne. She shouted at him, but he saw through her front. She was trembling. That day, Shifa realized something. Her courage was real, even if loud. Shifa realized Leanne's bravery wasn't empty pride. She risked herself to protect others. His sister's words echoed in his mind. Even if you dislike people, protect those who fight beside you. Summoned a massive greatsword, lightning crackling around him. Remembering his sister's words, he stood firm. If someone's worth protecting, then it's an adventurer's duty to protect with all their strength. The blade Shifa held was forged from the Phantom Dragon King, Tokkun. Rose had warned him. It held immense power, but could overwhelm him if his resolve wasn't strong enough. With a surge of strength, Shifa raised the greatsword. Energy spiraled at its core. He swung with everything he had, aiming straight for the heart of the pterosaur's charge. Shifa's swing tore through the air, cleaving the sky in a sharp arc. The pterosaur staggered. Leanne stood behind him in awe as the beast took the full force. The beast howled in agony, its body erupting with light and shock waves. Shifa's strike had landed. The ground split beneath the impact, and the monstrous pterosaur began to collapse. The pterosaur lay defeated, steam rising from its crushed frame. Ruelle and the others looked on, speechless. Leanne turned red, flustered, murmuring excuses as Shifa approached with concern. Shifa offered help, but Leanne hesitated. Blushing, she asked to be called by her name. Surprised, Shifa smiled. Ruelle stepped in, offering support too. After defeating the pterosaur, Shifa walked beside his sister while others watched. Yulina pointed out his next trial. A cockatrice appeared nearby, and tensions rose among the adventurers in camp. Shifa recalled his sister's words about dragons. Her harsh training made him strong. Leanne watched quietly. Yulina led the others forward, signaling the end of practice, and returned to town. They arrived at Cardia's Adventurers Guild, its size overwhelming. Shifa stared in awe. Yulina smirked at his reaction. Leanne muttered, unimpressed, while the others prepared to report their mission. Inside the guild, Shifa admired elite adventurers. Yulina reported their success. The clerk mentioned a cockatrice nearby. Confusion spread as others misunderstood the danger, unaware it was far worse than expected. Guild staff gasped at the mention of a pterosaur. Yulina urged Shifa to reveal proof. With a nod, he complied. One instructor examined it, impressed by the unexpected but undeniable victory. Shifa revealed the massive pterosaur corpse, stunning everyone. Yulina stayed composed. Leanne questioned his timing. A clerk ran to alert the branch manager, while Shifa quietly wondered about the reward. Gasps filled the room as adventurers questioned how a pterosaur was beaten. Shifa smiled awkwardly. The guild began wondering why such a beast appeared in the western forest at all. The branch manager descended gracefully, her presence commanding. She announced 2 sightings, a pterosaur in the west and a phoenix afar. Shifa and the others felt a new unease rising. The branch manager's youthful look fooled many. Shifa called her a kid, shocking the crowd. Laughter followed. She smiled behind her fan, amused by his boldness and curious about him. Shifa learned the girl's true identity, Lady Kono, the branch manager of Chaldea. Realizing his mistake, he quickly apologized. She accepted with grace, amused by his honest yet clueless nature. Lady Kono listened to Yulina's report. Monster sightings increased across the land. Though the source was distant, she believed she knew the cause and had already prepared a countermeasure in secret. Kono confirmed the phoenix's presence had disrupted the balance. It ranked at level 20. Surprised by Shifa's strength, she teased him for being a trainee who downed a level 7 beast. Shifa introduced himself. Kono was surprised to learn he was Rose's brother. She offered support if he left training. Yulina teased her, suggesting it was a plan to control Rose. Shifa wondered about Rose's reputation. Konoe reassured them. Rose was strong, just difficult. Yulina revealed the union chose Rose to face the phoenix. Shifa was stunned his sister was that trusted. Shifa reflected on his sister with awe. Far away in the capital, a commanding figure walked the streets. Townspeople stared, uncertain whether to fear or admire the mysterious woman. Rose strode through the capital with unwavering presence. Her armor gleamed under the sky. Citizens parted in silence, stunned by her aura. She had arrived, and something big was coming. Rose paused and glanced around the capital. Her journey had taken longer than expected, but she arrived just in time, locals whispered, sensing her importance though they didn't know why. At the Royal Capital Guild, Rose stormed in demanding a request form. Staff panicked. Chaos grew with news of fallen adventurers. Rumors spread that the phoenix had already started moving. Rose ignored the stares and kept pushing forward. Whispers followed about her defeating the Phantom Dragon King. Recognition spread as eyes caught the mark on her chest. The legend was true. Rose calmly announced the completion of her mission. Staff panicked at her solo extermination of a military dragon. Shock spread as they realized she'd fulfilled a high-level extermination request alone. Rose dismissed the crowd's shock and asked for the reward to go to Shifa's training center. Despite whispers about her hating men, she left swiftly, unconcerned by reputation or riches. A guild messenger rushed in with a black envelope and elite request. Rose, now nominated to repel the phoenix, silently accepted. Opening it meant immediate action. She was already preparing to leave. The phoenix mission was ranked extreme. Rose accepted without hesitation. She longed to return to Shifa but knew the threat was real. If alone, she might need to unleash everything. Rose formally requested a party formation with Shimi and Sarah, elite adventurers. Gasps followed. Few had seen such authority used. She smiled slightly, aware of the risk she now accepted. Rose raced ahead, eager to see Shifa. Meanwhile, Yulina reminded the others to focus on training. A new mission was set to survey monster habitats affected by the phoenix's presence. Days later, Shifa sat with Yulina, sharing a quiet meal. She explained their next task to investigate how the phoenix altered monster territories. Shifa reacted with surprise, already sensing new challenges. Yulina asked if Shifa was adjusting. She handed him a real mission, one requiring teamwork with a trainee. Shifa hesitated, unsure if he could lead, despite the strength he'd gained. Shifa greeted Leanne, surprised when she responded first. Her quiet demeanor unsettled him. It wasn't like before. She remained distant, yet somehow that silence made her seem even more charming. Leanne blushed, apologizing for mocking Rose. She spoke nervously, struggling to express emotions she didn't fully understand. Shifa was confused, unsure what she meant, yet sensed something had quietly changed. Yulina addressed the group with authority. Leanne, clearly agitated, stood stiffly beside her. Ruelle listened quietly. Shifa focused as Yulina explained the phoenix threat spreading across the continent's center. Yulina explained the mission's medium rank. Shifa realized this was beyond usual training. Ruelle stayed silent. Leanne frowned. Yulina reminded them they now held full responsibility, like true adventurers. Leanne interrupted, asking to join Shifa's party. She shouted about how he saved her. Shifa seemed confused. Yulina questioned the logic. The room fell silent at Leanne's sudden confession. Leanne shouted that Shifa's rescue was a proposal. The room froze. Yulina and others stared. Leanne declared it was marriage-worthy. Shifa stayed speechless. She insisted her sister taught her that. Leanne proudly claimed wife training. Yulina refused to change assignments. Shifa sighed. Ruelle commented on Leanne's odd behavior. Their mission began. Tsukimi briefed the route. Loki pleaded with Alion to switch. Shifa reflected on his team. He doubted himself but remembered his sister's training. The others looked unsure. Milerina panicked. Despite nerves, she declared she knew demons and monsters clearly. The team spotted various monsters. Milerina calmly identified each one by level and name. Her accuracy surprised everyone. Shifa and Tsukimi praised her. Loki cheered. They resumed their investigation confidently. The team reached Cardia High Forest, their final area. Loki grew nervous. Shifa warned of level 3 threats. Tension rose as the shadows deepened. Something unseen stirred within the trees. Tsukimi had vanished. Shifa and Loki searched the area. Milerina sensed something wrong. Despite known threats, the forest was silent. Her voice trembled. Too quiet. No monsters appeared. Everyone grew alert. The group camped after a quiet day. Shifa stayed thoughtful. The monsters were gone, but why? No signs remained. Something felt wrong. The real cause still lurked beyond their reach. They set a night watch. Shifa remembered past training in a haunted castle. Monsters never appeared during day. Ruelle explained they only came at night. Shifa stared into the darkness silently. Shifa realized the danger too late. No monsters appeared during the day. He had been naive. Something stronger lurked. The high forest wasn't safe. A superior demon ruled the night. The group rested uneasily. Loki offered to take watch, joking he'd run if needed. Shifa agreed but stayed concerned. He asked for trust. With a smile, Loki called him Shifa. Shifa patrolled the forest at night. Milerina followed him secretly. She apologized nervously. Admitting she overheard him, she offered help. Shifa accepted with a grin. He knew he needed her. Shifa smiled and invited Milerina along. She panicked but followed. A sudden sound startled them. Shifa pulled her close. They hid quietly, staring into the darkness, sensing something was near. A towering Dullahan emerged from the shadows, its head aflame. Shifa and Milerina froze. It was level 8, far above anything before. A true demon, ruling the forest by fear. The Dullahan searched the woods. Shifa and Milerina hid quietly. She warned it could sense life. Shifa clenched his fists. Running while guarding her wouldn't work. He needed another way. Shifa cast a powerful spell. Magic flared from his hands with precision. The blast hit the Dullahan head-on. Milerina stood frozen behind him, eyes wide, as the attack struck true. The Dullahan charged with deadly speed. Shifa shielded Milerina, rolling them aside. He realized the demon tracked her presence. With no time to spare, he leapt forward to counterattack directly. Blades clashed violently. Shifa met the Dullahan's strike head-on. Sparks flew through the trees. Milerina called out. Shifa steadied his stance. This foe was far beyond the flying beast before. Shifa analyzed the terrain. Trees blocked wide swings. The Dullahan's long weapon became a burden. Shifa shifted tactics, closing in. Magic swirled in his hand as he charged with precision. Shifa recalled his sister's advice. The Kodachi excelled in tight spaces. She'd insisted it worked well against magical beings. That memory returned now, as he gripped the blade mid-fight. With fierce resolve, Shifa activated his magic. The Kodachi glowed as he leapt toward the Dullahan. Milerina watched in awe. The blade aimed for the core, striking with full force. Milerina shouted the weakness. Shifa turned sharply, eyes locking on the burning flame atop the Dullahan. He slashed upward with precision. The magic blade surged, aiming straight at the fire. Shifa's blade struck the flame with full force. Light burst through the dark forest. The Dullahan staggered, body crumbling. Shifa landed firmly, eyes sharp, as the demon fell defeated. Milerina cheered, eyes wide with joy. Shifa explained the Kodachi drained magic and life. He casually added his sister once infused it with vampire blood. Milerina froze, completely overwhelmed. Milerina squealed at the mention of Luciella, the legendary vampire princess. Her eyes sparkled with admiration. Shifa watched, amused. He quietly confirmed she was a total expert on monsters and demons. Shifa reflected on his strange but loyal party. Milerina praised him shyly. He credited the team's support. Their first official mission had ended. Real adventures, he realized, were only beginning. Shifa stood tall beneath the glowing trees. Light poured through the canopy as he clenched his fist. This mission marked his beginning. He had taken his first true adventurer's step. Just as Shifa and Milerina resumed their investigation, a towering beast emerged. Shifa froze. It was a level 18 monster. The danger surged back instantly. Their next battle had begun. From the light stepped a mysterious girl with fox ears. Milerina gasped tamamo-mae. Shifa stared, puzzled. Her eyes looked sad. Neither could tell if she was friend, foe, or something else. Tamamo sat silently among the trees, her gaze distant. Shifa and Milerina watched from cover, cautious. She was a level 18 monster, yet her sadness puzzled them more than fear. They came to investigate monster habitats altered by the phoenix. But a sudden voice echoed in Shifa's mind, asking their intent. Tamamo had sensed them, requesting proof of peaceful purpose. Shifa stood still, eyes narrowed toward the woods ahead. He couldn't flee with Milerina behind. His sister's training echoed in his mind. This fight was his to win alone. Shifa lunged forward with fierce resolve. The monster stirred, but he didn't falter. Magic surged through his hand as he shouted with clarity. His call rang out for Durandal's power. Before the spell finished, a voice cut through. The magic shattered mid-cast. Shifa stumbled, confused. The circle flickered away. He turned to Tamamo, unsure if she was in danger now. Shifa's mind raced as Tamamo stepped forward. He had no sword, no defense. Her pressure overwhelmed him. His sister's training hadn't prepared him for this. He clenched his fists hard. Milerina shouted the truth. Tamamo was a sorcerer. The circle had only been hidden. Shifa gritted his teeth. Now he knew. He bowed slightly. He thanked Milerina and stood again. Without hesitation, Shifa charged. The blade met Tamamo's magic midair. Sparks burst around them. His strike landed with full force. The air trembled as their clash split the ground beneath. Shifa froze. His blade touched her chest, yet Tamamo didn't move. No resistance, no magic shield. Her eyes were calm. He pulled back slightly, confused by her surrendering stance. Tamamo didn't resist. Shifa lowered his blade. She wasn't hostile. He realized she only provoked him to reveal his strength. Guilt crept in. She smiled gently and called Milerina forward. Milerina stepped closer, eyes wide. Shifa stared, realizing Tamamo looked kind. Her power wasn't wild but careful. When asked why she didn't attack, Tamamo's reply hinted at something urgent. Tamamo revealed her burns. Shifa and Milerina stood frozen. The wounds came from a phoenix's sacred flame. She could not fight. Her strength was gone. Only moonlight healing remained possible. Tamamo spoke of Mount Inari, her home far east. Demons lived quietly, peacefully. It wasn't unity, but it was home. Then one day a phoenix descended. Everything began to change. The phoenix made Mount Inari its shrine. Divine flames spread across the land. Creatures changed. Cockatrices appeared. Pterosaurs followed. Demons and monsters were forced out. Peace was lost without warning. Tamamo tried to stop the phoenix. Her magic failed. She was wounded and forced back. Shifa and Milerina listened. The forest became her refuge while moonlight healed her slowly. Tamamo bowed low. She wished to return to Mount Inari. Her goal was clear. Heal first, then fight again. She asked them not to stop her. Shifa remained silent. Tamamo pleaded for time. She wanted to return alone. Shifa asked if he could trust her. Milerina sensed no evil. Tamamo whispered again. Her wish was only to go home. Shifa touched Tamamo's tail without thinking. It was warm but soft. She reacted with surprise. Despite the chaos, he smiled. She wasn't dangerous. She just wanted her peaceful home restored. Shifa promised to report honestly. Tamamo lit up with hope. She only wished to return home. Rose had already gone to face the phoenix. Her path might soon be clear. Shifa told Tamamo to focus on healing. She cried and thanked him. He smiled faintly. Her pride was strong, but her heart was honest. He no longer doubted her intentions. Tamamo wished them a safe return. Shifa and Milerina began walking. Spirits drifted nearby but never attacked. Shifa noticed how calm everything was. Even weak monsters obeyed without causing harm. Their report marked the mission's end. The forest had changed overnight. Tamamo remained hidden, healing. No danger remained. Subjugation was unnecessary. Their report confirmed peace, and Tamamo's presence was left untouched. Shifa thought about his sister. He trusted she would handle the phoenix. Far away, she stepped through rain-covered streets. Her eyes were sharp. Her mission had already begun moving. Shami and Sarah entered the bustling guild hall in the central capital. Eyes turned. Conversation stopped. Their presence was overwhelming. Sitting calmly, they prepared for something only they knew. Sarah complained about Rose's delay, while others whispered in awe. Two men recognized them. Their fame was no rumor. The atmosphere shifted as whispers of their power spread across the room. A man stood, recognizing Sarah as the sound soared. He addressed Rose as the destruction caster. The room tensed. Their titles were real. Shock spread as others realized the truth. Rumors about Sarah and Rose spread among guild members. They recalled past missions and feared their strength. The Phoenix extermination left deep scars. Two legends sat quietly as tension rose. The adventurers whispered as they recognized Rose. Her arrival was not random. She had called them to meet. Some doubted her reason, but others knew she came for her brother. The guild doors opened. Wind rushed in. Rose Alion appeared in full armor, eyes locked on her determined stride. Known as the War Maiden, she had finally made her entrance. Rose apologized for being late. Sarah scolded her. Rose explained she got distracted shopping for armor, thinking Shifa would like it. Her flustered excuse only made things more awkward. A guild officer approached and confirmed Rose's identity. He informed them of a critical mission. The Phoenix had returned. The guild had assembled a special team to eliminate it. The three women stood united. They declared their readiness for the extreme mission. The officer warned if no report came within 14 days, the guild would mark them as dead. Adventurers discussed Rose's strength. They agreed she had the skill and trust of the Union. Confident and calm, she inspired others. Suddenly, a man entered, mocking them without hesitation. The man revealed himself as Rondel, a royal knight. He dismissed the adventurers. Claiming superiority, he demanded answers. Rose and the others remained composed as tension filled the hall. Rondel questioned their worth. The Phoenix had once overwhelmed knights, but the guild had chosen its best. Calmly, the adventurer confirmed their resolve. She believed no one else was better. Rondel doubted their strength, but upon hearing Rose's name, his tone changed. Even knights admitted their unit could not match the trio. With a sigh, he agreed to back down. The knights vowed not to interfere. Tension broke when a bystander panicked. Rose's team remained calm. Meanwhile, the city of Inari had been sealed off as the danger grew stronger. 2 days passed. Inari became a danger zone. Entry was restricted to those with permits. The guild gave full control to Rose's team. Their mission now faced its true beginning. The team arrived at Inari's gate. Rose asked for an update. The official explained the Phoenix had taken over. Fire spread inside. Some adventurers died. The city had been evacuated. Rose declared the operation would begin. The guards hesitated but opened the gate. Flames glowed beyond. The trio stepped forward, prepared to face the monster waiting within the ruined city. As they entered, fire surrounded the streets. The golden flame of the Phoenix burned everything. The city was no longer a home. It had become the nest of destruction. Sarah hesitated near the fire. Rose proposed a bold plan. Instead of searching, they would erase all flames. Once the holy fire vanished, the Phoenix would be forced to appear. The team discussed the Phoenix's regeneration. Rose suggested using constant attacks to wear it down. Shamie and Sarah were crucial. Rose promised to guide the timing. They began forming tactics. Rose outlined the plan. She would clear the fire. Once the Phoenix emerged, Shamie would cast destructive magic. Sarah would intercept its flight. Each roll had to be perfect. Rose admitted the plan was nearly impossible, but believed they could do it. Shamie would cast destruction magic. Sarah would keep attacking to delay regeneration. Every second counted in battle. Sarah asked how long it would take. Rose said there was no time for rest. She would join the barrage and signal when Sarah should pull back. They accepted the risk. Death was possible. But retreat was not an option. Rose stepped forward to lead. She promised to clear the fire. Her team watched as it began. Rose raised her weapon and called her technique Cleaver Fujin. Wind gathered at the blade. With calm precision she swung. The others watched, stunned by her strength and confidence. Shamie paused, then understood. Rose was more than powerful. She inspired through action and reason. Even elite adventurers followed her. Doubts faded. Fear turned to determination in Shamie's heart. The blade struck hard. Flames scattered. Ground trembled. Sarah and Shamie prepared to move. The operation had begun with Rose at the front. They stepped into danger without hesitation. Rose's strike unleashed a wide current of wind. The flames bent and scattered. A storm of force rushed through the city. Shamie and Sarah braced themselves as pressure built. They watched in silence. The burning buildings began to clear. Wind roared across the rooftops. A sudden shift in the air signaled something deep and dangerous about to awaken. A massive shockwave burst forward. The ground split. Sarah and Shamie were nearly thrown back. The force reached the city walls. The battlefield was no longer under their control. Rose's single strike cleared the flames. The city's outline returned. Shamie and Sarah were speechless. Strength, precision, and calm presence. Rose stood without doubt. She would lead them forward. Encouraged, Shamie and Sarah rushed in. They remembered who chose them. They would not fail. Rose smiled, weapon ready. Still no sign of the Phoenix, but their resolve was firm. Rose, Shamey, and Sarah stood firm. The flames around Mount Inari still burned. If the phoenix refused to come out, then they would go in. Rose prepared another powerful strike. The flames fell away. They laughed in relief. The area was clear, but tension remained. Sarah reflected on how the phoenix's presence alone had shifted the entire region's balance. They remembered the cost. The migration had taken many lives. Adventurers and townspeople alike had suffered. With the path now open, the team advanced, ready to face from the heart of the fire. Golden flames spiraled upward. The sky darkened. A massive figure began to rise. The team watched closely. Something powerful was finally making its move. The phoenix emerged. Its body glowed with holy fire. Shamey gasped. The flames healed its wounds instantly. Rose narrowed her eyes. They now faced a creature shaped by pure destruction. Its form towered over the city. The flames grew louder. Level 20 mythical beast, designated as maximum threat. The phoenix had arrived. There was no more time to hesitate. The phoenix soared with fire in every direction. Rose, Shamey, and Sarah stood ready. Their target was clear. No words were needed. The battle that would decide everything had begun. Sarah steadied her breathing. Rose reminded them of the plan. Shamey would cast destruction magic. Sarah would strike with her blade. Rose would finish it. Their teamwork had to succeed. Sarah charged forward. Her target was fixed. The phoenix waited ahead. She shouted with strength. Her steps shook the ground. Flames parted. Her weapons spun into action without delay. Sarah faced the phoenix head-on. Her mission was to match its regeneration with relentless strikes. She charged with full speed. Her sword danced as flames curled around the giant body. Her blade moved faster than sight. The phoenix struggled to recover. Shamey observed in awe. Each strike disrupted the fire. Sarah's sword began to push past the phoenix's healing speed. Rose launched a barrage to support Sarah. Shamey continued chanting. Phase 2 began. The phoenix roared. But now, for the first time, it was pushed back. Their plan had begun. The team unleashed their combined assault. Blades, spells, and strikes crashed into the phoenix. Flames scattered. The beast roared. For a moment, they believed the tide might actually turn. Rose explained the goal. They had to push the phoenix until even its healing stopped. But timing was tight. Sarah was pushed harder. Shamey prepared her spell with focus. The pressure built. Sarah shouted as her speed peaked. Rose confirmed the fire was nearly gone. The phoenix's body staggered. It was finally weakening. The final phase was now close. Rose called for Sarah to fall back. It was her turn. She leapt into action. The air shifted. Sarah withdrew. Shamey's chanting grew louder. The final strike was near. Magic circles filled the sky. Rose rose above them all. The energy was massive. Everyone paused. The phoenix turned its gaze. This was no longer a simple barrage. Rose drew her weapon through the glowing seals. Sarah and Shamey watched. It was her multi-storage magic. A stored barrage of spells, ready to release in a single strike. Sarah and Shamey stared in awe. Rose's magic was overwhelming. The phoenix screamed in resistance. For a moment, it looked like they could win. But the beast started shifting again. The phoenix responded with force. Sarah was thrown back. Rose tried to hold position. Shamey kept chanting. The flames gathered again. Their strongest attack had not ended the fight. Rose realized the phoenix was trying to escape. The spell was not complete. She told Shamey to keep casting. They would switch to sealing magic. The battle was not over. Shamey stayed focused. She trusted Rose completely. Her chant continued. Sarah prepared her next strike. The team moved in sync. No one was willing to let the phoenix escape. Rose readied her greatsword. She charged. The phoenix tried to rise again. Attacks landed from all directions. They aimed to bring it down before it could recover its flames. The phoenix staggered. Shamey maintained her chant under pressure. Suddenly she faltered. Rose noticed immediately. Sarah called out. Magic circles still spun above. The decisive moment was about to come. Shamey began her final chant. Her voice echoed with force. Magic surrounded the phoenix. Rose and Sarah held position. It was time. The sealing phase had finally begun. The spell took shape. Shamey completed the first verse. The phoenix was bound by water and magic. Trapped within the spell, it let out a fierce but contained roar. The phoenix was sealed inside. The team exhaled. It was finally caught. Sarah and Shamey turned toward Rose. Now it was her turn to strike the final blow. Rose approached the sealed phoenix. Her gaze sharpened. She chose her weapon. The time had come. Her sword would serve its role. The moment to finish it was here. She unlocked a large sealed magic. Symbols spun into place. A special chant storage activated. Her teammates watched closely. It wasn't just a blade. This was a stored force. Sarah was stunned. Shamey explained. It was chant storage magic. Magic normally needing time was kept ready in advance. Rose had been prepared for this moment from the beginning. Rose reached into the storage space. The seals responded. The weapon she stored was not ordinary. It was locked behind layers of chant. Now was the moment to unlock it. She extended her hand. The blade materialized. Energy flowed around her. Her expression was steady. She called its name, a sword of rare power chosen for this final strike. The weapon appeared. Heavenly Sword Ikuhime. She held it firmly. The air fell quiet. The phoenix stirred inside the prison. The sword was ready. The end of the battle neared. Sarah and Shamey watched in awe. Light gathered around Rose. The sword shimmered with power. Rose stepped forward, gaze fixed. Her intent was clear. There would be no hesitation. She spoke calmly. The phoenix, once feared, had burned many lives. It was time to end it. Rose raised her sword, the final judgment resting solely in her hands. With a single strike, the energy split the battlefield. The sealed prison shattered. The force surged toward the phoenix. Rose's sword descended. The final blow had begun its path. Rose struck with full force. The phoenix screamed. Her sword cut through the burning aura. With a final swing, the massive body crumbled. The light of the flames disappeared. The impact cleared the sky. Smoke faded. Silence returned. The phoenix vanished without a trace. Rose stood still. Her mission complete, the others rushed to her, relief in their eyes. The town recovered. The team smiled again. Days passed. News spread. The phoenix had fallen. Everyone now spoke of the adventurers led by Rose, the war maiden who saved them. The city slowly began to recover. Knights acknowledged the impossible had been done. As questions rose about the war maiden's location, Rose had already departed. Her next destination was Shifa. Shifa, the blonde-haired youth, listened quietly as talk of Rose's battle spread. His instructor Yulina warned him about his rising power. He nodded, still unsure of what awaited him next. While Rose fought the phoenix, Yulina gave Shifa a task. Strange activity spread across regions. His former home turned unstable. Confused, Shifa tried to grasp what the disturbance truly meant. Shifa learned his home was now a demonic zone. A high-tier monster had appeared. The guild awaited Rose's return. Shifa finally understood he couldn't return. His role was changing fast. Shifa thought of going home but remembered the chaos. He wondered about tamamo-mae's condition. Yulina noted his sister's support. Shifa smiled. Knowing Rose worked hard even without asking for help, Shifa was shocked when Yulina mentioned Rose's gift. A large sum was transferred. With it, he could live comfortably. But Yulina reminded him his path was just beginning as adventurer. The next morning, Leanne greeted Shifa warmly. She misunderstood his kindness as a proposal. Alone at home, Shifa was caught off guard when she asked to visit and stay nearby. Shifa greeted Leanne at the training center. Ruelle arrived and stirred tension. Leanne denied his approach. Shifa noticed the peaceful atmosphere but sensed something was off behind everyone's calm faces. Loki called to Shifa with urgent news. A guild party had moved to subjugate Tamamo, a powerful beast. Shifa froze. He had warned them Tamamo posed no threat anymore. Shifa recalled Tamamo's gentle expression. Hearing she might be attacked filled him with dread. He knew her wounds made her vulnerable. Without delay, he rushed to find Yulina and stop them. Shifa rushed to Yulina demanding answers. He asked why Tamamo was targeted. Yulina explained the reality. Tamamo was now seen as an easy mark. Shifa clenched his fists, feeling helpless. Shifa realized his report had failed. Despite knowing Tamamo wasn't a threat, adventurers still moved. Regret built inside him. He blamed himself for not acting sooner. Determined, he decided to intervene. Shifa sprinted to leave, shouting his intention to help, but before he could escape, an instructor blocked him. Thrown to the ground, he groaned. His path was cut off again. Yulina ordered Shifa back. He stood firm, recalling his promise to Tamamo. He readied himself, saying he must pass. Yulina stared, questioning if he understood the weight of his actions. Students watched from behind as Shifa pleaded. He spoke with respect but showed resolve. Tamamo only wanted peace. Shifa hoped Yulina would see it. His blade stayed low, not raised. Yulina warned him of the risk. Disobedience could cost his future. Shifa remembered Rose's words. He shouted that Rose would understand. Yulina hesitated, sensing truth behind his desperation to protect. Shifa moved with determination. Yulina blocked him, but her tone softened. She recognized his resolve. Despite the risk, she saw his spirit was no different from Rose's. She allowed him through. Yulina warned Tamamo would be found. Strong adventurers were on their way. Fighting them was not an option. Shifa's only chance was to speak and make them turn back willingly. Yulina spoke clearly. Every adventurer faces truth only they can handle. She told Shifa to prove his strength by choosing his path. With her blessing, he ran off without delay. Shifa dashed through the guild. He yelled for clearance to Cardia High Forest. Remembering Yulina's words, he ran faster. The guild couldn't protect Tamamo. He had to go himself. Ruelle caught up and offered help. Shifa was surprised. Ruelle said they should leave the training center if needed. Together, they ran toward Tamamo, determined to act before it was late. They reached the edge of Cardia Forest. It was strangely quiet. Ruelle questioned the absence of monsters. Shifa stayed alert, sensing something was off. Tamamo's safety still wasn't guaranteed. Shifa and Ruelle reached the forest. Tamamo's shelter was nearby. As they approached, Ruelle suddenly told Shifa to hide. An adventurer party had already arrived and began to surround Tamamo. Yulina discussed monster movement with another group. Shifa overheard her mention the South Mountain turning into a demon realm. Realization hit. Tamamo was in danger. He felt urgency grow inside him. Shifa watched Sarah's party confront Tamamo. Ruelle asked to speak, but they ignored him. Shifa begged to help. Doubts formed about Tamamo's value. Still, Shifa believed she deserved to live. Tamamo pleaded for peace. Sarah mocked her, calling her a killer. Tamamo insisted she never harmed anyone. Despite her words, the adventurers ignored her and prepared to strike without hesitation. Ruelle tried to hold Shifa back. Tamamo cried, blaming herself for being unable to protect others. As Sarah's attack launched, Shifa's heart screamed. He chose to protect Tamamo without delay. Shifa leapt into action. Spells formed in his hand. He asked himself if this was the adventurer he wanted to be. His answer was clear. He charged forward without fear. Shifa activated his gauntlets and charged. Flames surged from his fists. The impact roared through the battlefield. His power shocked everyone, recalling Rose's warning about overwhelming strength when rotation increased. The flames exploded with force. Sarah froze, stunned by the raw energy. Tamamo watched in awe, recognizing the strength. Shifa stood tall, determined. His power turned silence into fear. Shifa spoke to the upper-class adventurers. His words cut through them, calling out their cruelty. A bystander gasped. They questioned his identity. His presence made even elite warriors take a step back. Shifa shouted for Tamamo not to give up. Sarah dismissed his plea and attacked again. Shifa moved to protect. He declared he was different, not blinded by fear like them. Tamamo unleashed her power, forcing enemies back. Shifa stood firm, yelling in defiance. He rejected their beliefs. To him, Tamamo deserved to live. He charged again, unwilling to stand aside. In another place, Yulina discussed regional instability. Monster habitats were shifting. A demon realm had formed near Shifa's old home. She realized that larger forces were changing everything behind the scenes. The forest burned behind them. Sarah fell back, exhausted. Shifa faced her, unwavering. He demanded she leave. Tamamo stood beside him. If she refused to retreat, he would force her. Shifa stared at the swirling energy. Sarah laughed weakly. He asked if she had lost the will to fight. When she said nothing, he shouted that she should go home. Shifa grabbed the male adventurer trying to attack Tamamo. The man growled, saying he'd kill her. Shifa stopped him, furious. He shouted that Tamamo was in pain and deserved to live. As Shifa moved, another adventurer warned him not to continue. Sarah blocked him gently, reminding him they weren't there to fight. With tears in her eyes, she asked him to calm down. Shifa stood over Ruelle, realizing he went too far. Tamamo thanked him. He reassured her. He wanted to protect her properly now, so she could return home without fear. Sarah questioned his actions. She insisted Tamamo was dangerous. Shifa calmly replied. He was just a trainee, not a full adventurer, but his resolve was firm, and he stood his ground. Sarah refused to believe monsters could be spared. Shifa explained Tamamo showed no intent to fight. He warned against forcing things. Despite protests, he believed not all monsters needed to die. Shifa hesitated, torn between protecting Tamamo and avoiding bloodshed. Conflict surrounded them, blades drawn. He gritted his teeth, swearing to shield her. The enemy approached. His resolve alone would not suffice. As Tamamo faced danger, a surprise attack was intercepted. A mysterious girl appeared, her strike flawless. The group stood alert. She named Saria, calm and confident. Everyone wondered who she was. The girl stepped forward, introducing herself as Sarah, Leanne's sister. She sought Shifa. Shock filled him, recognizing her resemblance. Tension eased slightly. Now together, a new dynamic had begun to form. Sarah stepped forward, unimpressed by the group. She dismissed the fallen adventurers and confirmed the monster's subjugation. Her confidence struck Shifa. She spoke clearly. Interference meant consequences. Her stance held weight. Sarah declared her strength, unmatched in cardia. A cloaked figure appeared, mocking their protection of monsters. Tension rose. Shifa readied himself. The enemy radiated hostility. A battle was about to begin. The masked attackers surged forward. Sarah activated her magic sword. Tamamo warned of her serious intent. The enemy taunted them. Sarah steadied her blade. No one would fall under her watch. Sarah gave a calm nod, then launched forward. Her wind-enhanced strike roared through the battlefield. The enemy flinched. Tamamo, Shifa, and others watched, stunned by her overwhelming power and precision. The attacker screamed as Sarah's magic tore through. The group witnessed her unleash the wind's fury. Her stance firm, eyes sharp, she advanced without pause. Her control over wind was unmatched. Recognizing the storm, the enemy trembled. It was Fujin, Sarah's famed technique. He realized her identity. She wasn't just strong, she was someone close, someone unforgettable, someone he deeply cherished. Rose arrived, cutting through the sky. Known as the strongest sister, she joined the scene. Shifa felt relief. She questioned his safety. Everyone looked to her, unsure what would happen next. Rose listened to Sarah's report about Tamamo. Shifa confirmed he was unharmed. Confusion lingered. Rose summoned her phoenix sword. Saria observed the situation closely. The mood shifted as Rose took command. The phoenix was subdued. Rose turned to Tamamo with intent. She declared readiness to fight, alone if needed, her eyes steady. She asked 2 questions. The outcome depended on the answers. Rose questioned Tamamo. Had she harmed humans? Tamamo answered honestly. Asked about Shifa, she swore to protect him. Moved, Rose accepted her. For the first time, Tamamo felt truly acknowledged. Rose stood firm, denying the right to subjugate Tamamo. If they harmed Shifa, she would have retaliated. Tensions rose. Saria asked about Rose's judgment. Rose remained unwavering. Her priority was always Shifa. With the situation diffused, Rose acknowledged Tamamo's help. The phoenix had already been weakened. Tamamo smiled, grateful. Though Rose couldn't heal her, hope returned. Together, they prepared to leave and recover. The group prepared to part ways. Rose promised to inform Claire if seen. Leanne and the others left for the capital. Tamamo held Shifa close, proudly declaring their bond as equals. Shifa reflected on his growth. Rose's presence had helped resolve the conflict peacefully. Inspired, he vowed to train harder. Fighting alongside his sister without harming others became his new goal moving forward. Tamamo hesitated but finally spoke. With blushing cheeks, she called Shifa cool. Overwhelmed, she pledged to follow and become his guardian deity. Shifa froze. Everyone else was left in stunned silence. Tamamo sensed danger nearby but retreated with the others. Grateful for Ruelle's support, Shifa reflected on the day. He thanked her. New thoughts surfaced. His journey as an adventurer was beginning. Ruelle invited Shifa to form a future party. He hesitated, then agreed. They walked together toward the sunset. 2 paths slowly merged. Home waited. Tomorrow promised growth beyond today's battle. As peace settled in, a distant presence stirred. In the southern mountains, their first house stood quiet. Unseen in shadow, a creature prepared tea. A new threat quietly approached from afar. After rescuing Tamamo, Rose returned to the southern mountain. Locals praised her efforts. She listened to their concerns. Strange energy was rising. Demonization was spreading. A new threat was forming. The officials warned of a demonic species. They couldn't approach it. Rose remained composed. Mention of Shifa stirred memories. She realized he had grown. But something darker was still nearby. Alone at the house, Rose sensed spirits fleeing. She scanned the forest. The energy didn't belong. She confirmed her suspicion. A hidden figure lingered. Someone was watching from the shadows. Rose arrived and found Luciella waiting. The vampire greeted her casually. Despite being a demon of danger level 28, Rose wasn't surprised. Their strange friendship was already rooted in the past. Luciella explained herself with ease. She had suppressed her power but admitted her presence could still cause demonization. Rose sighed. If unchecked, a raid might come. Their reunion drew concern. Rose asked about the sudden visit. Luciella hesitated, then smiled brightly. She had an idea. Not a threat, just something amusing. With excitement, she leaned forward, eager to finally share it. Luciella smiled brightly, but Rose felt uneasy. Her power often caused demonization. Now Luciella proposed something unexpected. She wanted to be an adventurer. Rose immediately sensed trouble on the horizon. Rose doubted Luciella's plan. If she joined, she might end up with Shifa. The risk was too high. Rose's thoughts raced. She couldn't allow her brother to be endangered. Luciella remained cheerful. She offered solutions, hiding her traits and suppressing magic. She even brought a parasol she created herself. Rose watched, half convinced but still unconvinced of the plan's safety. Rose panicked over Luciella's stubbornness. Shifa remained unsure but smiled. Ruelle offered calm support. In the end, Rose sighed and accepted it. She hoped Shifa would meet reliable companions soon. Days passed quietly. Rose was invited to dinner by Ruelle. Shifa noticed something strange in the air. Ever since the last battle, breakfast with Rose had become a new routine. Shifa reflected on the demon god species. He understood their danger. Remembering Tamamo's choice, he vowed to grow. He wanted to protect others, just like his sister had taught him. Shifa finished breakfast, determined to train. Ruelle asked about his life at the academy. Shifa replied with a smile. He had grown used to it. Today's training was already scheduled. At Chaldea Grand Square, adventurers gathered. Shifa was surprised. The event wasn't normal training. Guild announcements followed. The branch manager appeared, introducing a major commission. Sarah's sudden presence shocked everyone. The guild prioritized clearing threats near Chaldea. Rose guarded the forest. Only spectral-class adventurers had access. Shifa listened quietly. Everything now linked back to the Phoenix incident they had survived. The teams were formed. Upper-class adventurers would assist. Shifa hoped to stay near Rose but ended up in another group. Tension stirred. He still had matters to resolve with Lena. Confused about their assignment, Shifa's team waited. Suddenly, the branch manager appeared. She assigned herself to their group. Everyone was stunned. The small girl smiled confidently, ready to guide them forward. They entered the forest where past battles took place. Other groups had already cleared the path. Shifa questioned the branch manager's intentions. She answered vaguely. The mission ahead remained uncertain. Only Shifa's team could enter the deeper forest. Dangerous monsters like cockatrice and behemoth were reported. Suddenly, a basilisk appeared. The branch manager stayed calm. Shifa braced for the unexpected. The branch manager called the basilisk unimportant. Still, its presence was unnerving. She ordered Shifa to fight. He hesitated, confused. Why him? The others watched closely as the test began. Shifa stepped forward. The basilisk charged. He struck fast using stored magic. Doubts lingered. Was this her plan? A challenge or a lesson? Either way, the real trial had started. Monsters kept coming. The party questioned their role. They reached their assigned zone, a deeper level. Shifa recognized it. The target appeared, a cockatrice, and tension filled the air. Ruelle was chosen to fight. Others doubted her strength. The branch manager observed silently. Shifa grew concerned. He recalled Ruelle's skill, but if something happened, he couldn't ignore it again. Shifa hesitated. He remembered their time at school. Ruelle was strong, far beyond others. Still, if she was hurt, he couldn't forgive himself. He prepared to protect her, just in case. Shifa watched as Ruelle stepped forward. The cockatrice hovered, dangerous but not impossible. He hesitated. Could she really handle it alone? She looked confident. Shifa struggled to trust his instincts. Suddenly, 3 cockatrices appeared. The group panicked. Shifa shouted, but Ruelle stood firm. She warned them not to interfere. Her calm gaze stayed locked on the incoming threat. Everyone fell silent. Ruelle advanced alone. She recalled Shifa's words about forming a permanent party. He remembered her bravery from before. She was strong, calm, and steady, maybe even more ready than he was. Shifa hesitated, then held back. He realized Ruelle didn't need saving. She was his ally, his equal. Trusting her was the right choice. He braced himself and watched closely. Ruelle smiled. His faith gave her strength. She stepped forward, calm and composed. Cold air swirled around them. The enemies mocked, but something shifted. The temperature began to fall fast. Ice formed beneath her feet. Power condensed in her hand. With grace and command, she invoked her magic. Ruelle stood firm and unleashed it. Her skill, Absolute Zero, had begun. Ice spread across the battlefield. Ruelle's magic surged outward, forming crystals with precision. The others looked on in awe. Even the enemy faltered, frozen by the sudden shift in temperature. She controlled the battlefield effortlessly. Her breath altered the environment, blending magic with nature. Observers noted her skill. Claire's sister had talent. Ruelle advanced forward, unfazed, directing the flow of battle. Cockatrices charged. Ruelle summoned a tower of ice, striking with precision. The enemy fell in one blow. Her technique, Ice Babble, ended it. The team stood silent. The battle was done. Ruelle summoned twin blades of frost. Her attack shattered the enemies instantly. Shifa and the others were stunned. She moved with precision and silence. No hesitation, the battlefield was hers. As Ruelle caught her breath, the branch manager shifted her attention. Another party member would be tested next. Whispers of strategy formed. Was this planned? Each move felt deliberate now. Darkness crept around them. Shadows stirred. The girl smiled, eyes fixed on Shifa. She called him the key. Her calm voice challenged him. He stood frozen, unsure of her intent. Darkness closed in. Shadows loomed around Shifa's party. The air grew thick. They stopped as multiple threats approached. It wasn't a simple battle. Something behind it all had triggered the surge. A massive figure emerged. Cockatrice and Behemoth joined together. Their power was unnatural. Shifa couldn't believe it. Someone had summoned them. Their enemy wasn't just beasts, but a force of control. The branch manager appeared in the shadows. Her influence was confirmed. This setup wasn't random. Shifa questioned her true intent. Why would she use magic to provoke such dangerous monsters? The girl hesitated as her identity was revealed. She was the younger sister of a renowned adventurer. Whispers spread quickly. Her reputation now carried expectations she didn't feel ready for. She trembled, unsure. Unlike her sister, she couldn't use powerful magic. The others tried to encourage her, but fear weighed her down. Memories of past failures clouded her confidence completely. Shifa watched in silence. Despite her support role, she had once helped him greatly. Still, she declared she couldn't do it. Doubt lingered, but something about her was unmistakably sincere. Milerina stood before the circle. Her potential, if focused, could awaken a powerful magic. Shifa observed her quietly. Her chant-type spell might hold more strength than she had ever imagined. Despite her fear, Milerina volunteered. The others prepared. Enemies approached fast. Shifa and Ruelle exchanged glances. There was little time. He readied himself, knowing this moment might require more than magic. Shifa stepped forward alone. The chill in the air sharpened his thoughts. He focused everything. No hesitation remained. He knew the deeper his concentration, the stronger his next move would be. Shifa summoned his greatsword and charged forward. His blade struck hard, cleaving through the creature. The force scattered debris. It was his turn now to stand at the front line. He confirmed the target. It was the cockatrice. With focus, he launched another attack. The enemy countered, but Shifa remained firm. His resolve was clear. The time to hesitate had passed. The beast lunged. Shifa reacted fast, deflecting the strike. He recalled Milerina's earlier warning. Each move mattered. With precision, he dodged and struck again. He wouldn't allow the enemy to advance further. Shifa leapt forward, blade drawn. The beast struck, and he blocked it. His body trembled, but he held firm. Behind him, the others watched, trusting he would hold the line. Despite pain, Shifa stood tall. The others called out. Milerina looked worried. The enemy regrouped. She wanted to help. Her chant magic stirred again. This time, she didn't hold back. Alone, Milerina stepped forward. She admitted her fear. Her chant spell could work, but her control was poor. Still, she stood firm. Shifa turned toward her, waiting on what came next. Milerina confessed her struggle. Despite talent, she couldn't control her magic. Her sister believed in her, trained her, and never gave up. But that trust now felt like a burden. She almost hurt her sister once. Her spell misfired, wild and unstable. Yet her sister remained kind. Milerina couldn't forget. Guilt stayed, making her doubt her worth among the others. Shifa listened quietly. He saw a part of himself in her story. He too was shaped by someone stronger. He decided then he wouldn't let Milerina's resolve fade again. Shifa encouraged Milerina to try. Even if she failed, they would simply run. His honesty surprised her. Ruelle chuckled. Milerina blinked, then slowly nodded. Something in her heart finally shifted. With new resolve, Milerina agreed to chant. She warned it would take time. Shifa and Ruelle prepared. Everyone stood ready. They placed their trust in her, believing she could do it. Shifa took charge. Milerina confirmed she was ready. Ruelle backed them up. Together, they faced the enemy. Milerina stood tall. This time, she would not run from the challenge ahead. Milerina activated her chant magic. Symbols spun around her. Power gathered. The spell formed clearly. Shifa watched from a distance. The enemy loomed close, but her stance remained perfectly steady. She declared her reason, not just for Shifa but for all her allies. Her chant rang out. Time slowed. Even the enemy paused, sensing something powerful was about to begin. With a final breath, Milerina unleashed the spell. Fire surged skyward, engulfing the monster. Her magic struck clean. The chant worked. Everyone watched in awe as flames ended the immediate threat. Flames roared across the battlefield. Milerina's spell had landed with overwhelming power. Everyone stared at the scorched earth. Her magic was real. It wasn't just strong, it was nearly unstoppable, but power surged beyond control. Milerina screamed. The spell wouldn't stop. Shifa ran forward. He couldn't let her be consumed. She begged him to flee, but he refused to turn back. Shifa smiled. He wouldn't run. He summoned his weapon, the spirit lance Ovara. If Milerina lost control now, regret would follow. He stood firm. This time, he would steady her path. Shifa shouted, rejecting retreat. He remembered Milerina's courage. He took the spirit lance and stood firm. The magic spiraled out of control. Still, he held his ground, unwilling to yield. Milerina collapsed, the spell consuming her strength. Flames closed in. Shifa ran, shielding her. Tamamo's voice echoed, calling out to protect him. The danger intensified. Time was running out fast. With one last push, Shifa leapt forward and released the lance. A massive seal formed. Energy surged upward, cracking the sky. The blast tore through the field, silencing the flames. The flames subsided. Shifa stood in the calm aftermath. He thanked Milerina. Her chant magic had saved them all. She blinked in disbelief, tears forming as his words reached her. Milerina burst into tears, overwhelmed. She had finally helped. Shifa smiled, acknowledging her growth. She vowed to keep training, her heart now set on improving the chant magic she once feared. With new determination, Milerina declared her goal. Shifa promised support. She saluted playfully, eyes full of resolve. A promise had formed, one born not of strength, but of shared belief. With the battle complete, Milerina's magic proved decisive. Shifa realized teamwork meant relying on others. Growth wasn't his alone. As calm returned, the commander stepped forward, ready to reveal the truth. Shifa stood quietly as a woman explained the purpose of the new training. Her expression was stern but calm. The others watched. A test was over. A new one began. Without hesitation, Shifa raised his hand and released a radiant spell. Energy surged into the injured knight. The others gasped. He spoke nothing, walking forward as if nothing happened. As they walked, she whispered to the curious girl. He is no ordinary human. Shifa heard it faintly and turned his head, uncertain whether to ask or to ignore. They arrived at the Chaldea training grounds and entered the director's office. One of the girls began reporting the results. The others stood nearby as the director silently listened. The girl turned to Shifa, questioning his behavior during the mission. He insisted he was fine. The director interrupted, stating clearly that she was not human and held authority. The director informed them of a mock battle scheduled in 30 days. The three would represent Chaldea. Confused and surprised, they listened closely as the serious announcement was made. The mock battle would gather top teams from 4 national training centers. Each school would send 1 elite party. The event was prestigious. The group reacted with surprise and confusion. She explained the training ground's wide layout and its many students. Their objective included both training and evaluation. Competition with other schools was part of a larger educational strategy. Stronger students boosted a school's influence. Weaker ones risked being taken by rivals. The upcoming battle would determine their place. The director warned that their school stood at a disadvantage. The director declared that failure meant immediate disbandment. Shock spread across their faces. If they lost, the facility would be shut down. The weight of that truth hit instantly. She explained the harsh history. Weak facilities had already been absorbed. This one was next unless they won. Their skills, land, and students would be taken by a stronger center. They must achieve total victory. Otherwise, they would be branded as failures. The nobles had already decided. There was no other path. The pressure now rested on their party. The director listed the 4 training grounds joining the battle. Chaldea was one of them. Their opponents were elite. The match held serious meaning beyond pride. They all listened carefully. She admitted the test was also to judge their potential. Victory would bring top-class recognition. Graduation, advanced rank, and exemption from further exams were promised. Her voice carried determination. With emotion, she asked them to accept. One girl nodded first. The others followed. If selected, they would fight. Quietly, they showed their resolve to defend their school's future. Milerina volunteered boldly. She wanted to master spirit magic and repay her sister. The instructor thanked her. Shifa hesitated, unsure if he could trust the leadership of the facility. Shifa expressed doubt. He questioned the noble's plans and didn't want unrelated people dragged in. The instructor reminded him of his words. Milerina quietly offered to go with him. Shifa returned, deep in thought. He reflected on the weight of what was happening. He didn't fully understand why, but he couldn't ignore the need to protect the academy. Shifa was asked if he had ever looked beyond his classroom. Through the window, he finally noticed others training hard in their own ways across the academy grounds. He saw Ruelle training with indoor targets. Milerina studied magic texts, aiming to master spirit arts. Each one worked silently, pursuing their goals. Shifa watched them with quiet realization. From martial drills to complex spellwork, students pushed themselves. Milerina immersed in ancient tomes. Shifa stood still. Their efforts reached him. He began to understand the weight of their resolve. Yulina asked if Shifa had ever noticed the others training. He hadn't. Rose explained that she built this facility far from the center so students could focus without distraction. Yulina revealed she was once a student too. She described the entrance ceremony, where Rose delivered a powerful sword strike that stunned everyone. The moment had been unforgettable. Rose struck her target from a far distance with overwhelming skill. The impact was precise and intense. Shifa stood still, remembering the unmatched strength she had displayed that day. Rose encouraged the students to explore and discover the most impressive training spot. Yulina reflected on how her sister's determination had inspired her to keep going as an instructor. Watching her students work so hard reignited Yulina's dedication. She told Shifa that history was shaped by people, and now it was his turn to carve it into this place. Shifa hesitated to answer. He claimed he wasn't interested in the competition, yet his pause spoke more than words. Rose's eyes widened slightly, sensing the change growing inside him. Shifa clenched his fist. He declared his goal to surpass his sister and protect the academy. With full resolve, he agreed to join. Rose listened quietly, her expression softening. The participants were announced. Ruelle, Milerina, and Shifa were chosen. A formal thank you followed. The room buzzed with reactions as the representatives prepared for the important role ahead. The team was briefed on today's lesson about magical creatures. They entered the western forest. Shifa sensed something strange. Suddenly, a massive beast known as Behemoth charged toward them. The creature was larger than expected. It wasn't alone. Another appeared from behind. Ruelle moved quickly to protect Milerina. Shifa turned, shouting that he would help and join the fight. Just as the monster lunged, a powerful attack struck it down. Everyone was stunned. Milerina, Ruelle, and Shifa stared at the scene, unsure of who had saved them. 3 mysterious figures vanished into the trees. Shifa was confused. Back in class, the teacher mentioned, "No further lessons today." One student quickly slipped away without explanation. A bold stranger burst into the room. Students recognized him. Beside him stood a famous idol. Confusion spread fast. Shifa and the others had no idea what was coming next. A loud student burst into the room, mocking Chaldea's trainees. He claimed the training ground would be theirs after the mock battle. His arrogant tone instantly stirred the atmosphere. He introduced himself as Beryl, one of the representatives from the capital. His teammates followed. Among them were a hooded figure and a girl named Yuva, who smiled calmly. Yuva spoke with a sweet tone but made it clear she underestimated them. She mentioned a live concert after their victory. Their presence left the room tense and uncertain. Beryl mocked the group, questioning their teamwork. Shifa stayed calm but sharp. The mock battle would span 3 days. Beryl warned them to brace for their fight on the first. Beryl taunted them, claiming he would go easy. Then he left, laughing loudly. The other students, watching from the side, were shocked by the arrogance and disrespect he showed. Shifa recalled earlier events. The enemy used strong body enhancement magic. Their strikes had terrifying precision. These weren't just students. Facing them would require serious preparation and flawless coordination. Rose acknowledged their teamwork needed improvement. She suggested special training for Shifa's team. Ruelle agreed, though unsure. Milerina hesitated, but training was clearly needed with only 30 days remaining. Shifa requested help from Rose. She declined, too busy with other duties, but she hinted someone else could train them. Encouraged, Shifa accepted. He began to understand her guidance. Rose explained that strength also meant protecting others. She told Shifa to explore the facility again. A sudden noise interrupted them. Without hesitation, Shifa rushed off to investigate. Leanne challenged them to a duel. She warned not to rely on Shifa alone. The group reminded each other they must protect the academy together. Shifa reassured them with confidence. Determined, they swore to defeat their opponents. The team ran toward the highlands for training. Shifa mentioned Rose declined to help, but someone else might step in as their mentor. A powerful woman welcomed them with flames swirling around. She seemed familiar with Shifa. Ruelle guessed she might be the perfect person for their training. Everyone braced for what came next. The woman appeared silently behind them, surprising the group. Shifa requested her help with training. He explained they had two goals, one involving Milerina's spirit magic control. The second goal remained unstated, but Shifa showed an item with determination. The others watched his actions closely. He made a bold move, stepping forward toward whatever came next. 30 days later, the Chaldea festival began. Crowds gathered as the announcer introduced the mock battles. The first match was highlighted as the event's opening attraction, drawing huge attention. The announcer introduced the teams. Shifa, Ruelle, and Milerina entered the arena. Their opponents from the capital followed. The stands were packed, and notable figures from each region watched closely. The leaders from rival training centers observed the event. Rose stood silently. Beryl taunted Shifa, trying to provoke him. Shifa stayed calm, focused only on showing the results of training. With tension high, the signal was given. The match began. Beryl charged in first with his teammates, shouting commands. The opening clash of the mock battle was finally underway. Beryl activated body enhancement magic and charged. Shifa remained calm, eyes closed. As the enemy attacked, Shifa began to unveil his new technique, trained for this exact moment. With precise counters and flawless timing, Shifa turned their speed against them. His two teammates backed him with seamless support. The enemy was caught off guard and thrown aside instantly. Shifa explained their strategy. He trained specifically to counter their style. Though they lacked brute force, teamwork gave them an edge. His confidence rattled Beryl, who finally understood their mistake. Shifa explained Milerina's training was real. Their teamwork stunned Beryl's group. One enemy collapsed instantly. Another charged in rage. Shifa calmly prepared to counter again with full force. Beryl activated his enhancement magic and roared. His body bulged with energy. Shifa stayed composed, ready to strike. He questioned if Beryl had trained anything other than brute strength. Beryl's attack missed. Shifa responded with precision. The crowd gasped. Milerina watched silently. Shifa's calm confidence showed through. The tide had turned, and the result felt inevitable as tension built. Ruelle explained the technique. With proper energy focus, the attack's true power could be unleashed. Shifa tightened his stance, absorbing her words as he prepared his finishing blow. Shifa's arm ignited with force. He spun into motion, using full power and precision. His opponent couldn't react in time. The strike connected with explosive speed and strength. The impact landed squarely. Shock and dust burst across the field. The audience froze. Shifa's focused expression held as Beryl was launched backward, overwhelmed by the sheer force of the punch. Shifa's final blow shook the arena. The opposing team was defeated, unable to rise. Spectators gasped. Even their leaders were speechless. Shifa's strength left no doubt in anyone's mind. Yuva admitted their victory proved more than power. Shifa's party earned respect. Chaldea's reputation began to change. Their goal wasn't just winning, it was to reshape how others saw them. With their first victory secured, the ceremony moved on. Cheers erupted. The group left the arena proudly. Shifa, Milerina, and Ruelle smiled, ready to enjoy the festival ahead. After the match, the team rested. Shifa was surprised to hear their opponents had withdrawn. Rumors spread that their strength had discouraged the capital's leading party from continuing. The second Royal City's team was introduced. They included only women and were rumored to be strong. Still, the next match wasn't today, giving everyone time to enjoy the festival. The group walked through Chaldea's grand festival. Streets were filled with cheering citizens. Decorations, food stalls, and music lined the roads. This was the nation's biggest celebration of the year. Shifa explored the festival with the others. They split up to enjoy the booths. He joined a shooting game and showed impressive aim, earning praise from a nearby participant. Leanne blushed while watching Shifa have fun. She hesitated, but admitted she also wanted to enjoy the festival. Shifa left quietly, thinking about how much this place had changed. Outside, Shifa encountered a woman named Rose, who seemed to recognize Leanne. She introduced herself politely. Shifa realized she might be related and soon discovered she was Leanne's older sister. A woman told her sister she was training hard in spirit magic. Shifa encouraged her. Rosé promised to cheer her on. Their short moment ended as another group caught Shifa's attention. Shifa noticed the second royal city's representatives, 3 hooded women. Others whispered about them. They had never shown themselves in public and were trained directly by their head instructor. The hooded trio stepped forward. Their leader smiled at Milerina. They claimed it would be fun to force her into battle. Milerina was shocked they knew her name so well. The hooded trio revealed knowledge about Milerina's chant magic. They demonstrated a rare joint casting spell. The group was stunned by their speed and coordination. Leanne felt an unsettling pressure rise. Their synchronized incantation finished instantly. The trio explained it was a secret technique requiring perfect harmony. They even revealed they were sisters, trained since childhood for precision casting. Shifa accepted their challenge. He confidently stated Milerina would defeat them using spirit chant magic. Training resumed in the forest. With half a day left, they prepared for tomorrow's match. Leanne trained hard, chanting with determination. Her spirit magic glowed brighter. She succeeded, but her energy was strained. Her teacher advised resting more between sessions to improve consistency and control. Shifa noticed her struggle. A mysterious robed girl approached. She admitted she was a beginner too and often failed. Her voice was calm, and her steps were slow and measured. The girl explained that magic grows stronger when built slowly, not rushed. Shifa watched her walk away thoughtfully. He realized power sometimes comes from pacing yourself rather than pushing fast. The next day, the second match began. Shifa's team faced the cloaked trio. The crowd filled the arena as the announcer signaled the start. Tension rose as both sides prepared. Yuva explained their formation. They would not hold back. The battle started fast. The trio launched a synchronized chant spell. Shifa's team reacted instantly, ready to face the opening assault. A powerful blast came toward Shifa. He barely dodged it. The force was immense. Chanting echoed. He countered with a spirit weapon, clashing hard. Everyone saw it wouldn't be easy. Shifa struggled to close in due to their long-range barrage. Ruelle and Milerina moved in to support. Milerina started chanting, determined to break their defense with her own spell. The cloaked trio launched another coordinated chant. Milerina's magic directly clashed with theirs. Her shield held strong. The trio realized their spells couldn't penetrate. Shifa's team was now pushing forward. Exhausted, the trio admitted they had used all their strength. They praised the team and accepted defeat with smiles. Shifa and Milerina stood tall as the battle finally ended. Just as the battle seemed finished, the cloaked trio resumed chanting. Milerina protested, believing it was over. Shifa remained cautious. He knew the match wasn't truly settled yet. Milerina responded quickly, firing a spell mid-conversation. It clashed again. Shock spread through the arena as the chant hadn't actually ended. The trio had kept it going the entire time. Their chant completed. Milerina realized the secret while one spoke. The others rested, cycling the chant perfectly. It was an advanced method even among professionals. Shifa and his team braced again. Shifa acknowledged Milerina's efforts, but reminded her she hadn't reached her true limit. Milerina listened. Determined, she began evolving her chant mid-battle, surprising everyone with newfound strength. With a powerful cry, Milerina initiated a forbidden chant. The magic circle beneath her grew bright. Winds began to swirl and rise. The air grew heavy with magical force. A massive vortex burst from the center. Water roared, rising into the sky, then spiraling down like a storm. Milerina had awakened a high-tier spell, one meant for destruction. The arena fell silent as the storm cleared. The announcer declared Chaldea Training Center victorious. The crowd erupted. Milerina stood proudly beside Ruelle and Shifa, having given her all. The cloaked trio admitted they hadn't pushed themselves until now. They found it inspiring. Shifa reflected on how far Milerina had come. Rosise quietly watched, proud of her sister's growth. The victory was historic. Yet Shifa wondered about the team from the northern capital, still missing. Just then, a girl dropped from above, signaling that the next challenge was near. During the Academy's festival, Rose scanned rooftops for suspicious movements. Disguised as a student, she dove in, startling everyone. Her search for hidden enemies led to false leads and blank skies. Rose questioned frightened students, suspecting spies were near. Despite fear and confusion, no one knew anything. She kept investigating alone, determined to uncover threats before they reached her younger brother Shifa. Rose declared she would protect Shifa no matter what. Spotting strange figures, she launched a surprise attack without hesitation. She vanished down the corridor, leaving silence and crushed tiles behind her. The crowd gathered at the grand arena for the academy competition. Cheers echoed as elite teams fought. Nobles, soldiers, and students watched closely, whispering about a girl's unexpected strength and precision. Whispers grew louder when Rose's younger brother appeared. Some doubted his skills, others praised his calm strategy. Rose stood in silence, hiding her pride. Then a powerful presence entered the gate. Iwareru stepped forward, catching every eye. As one of 4 supreme adventurers, her appearance silenced the arena, her gaze fixed on the fighters. The next match was about to begin. Eva descended with confidence, mocking the crowd. Rose jumped in to confront her, drawing gasps. The audience murmured as 2 top adventurers now stood face to face in the arena. Rose challenged Eva, defending Shifa's strength. Eva laughed, teasing her attachment. The 2 exchanged sharp words in a flash of anger. Sparks flew as their rivalry stirred up the crowd's excitement. Spectators discussed the 2 legends and the shocking match. Rose turned away, annoyed by Eva's taunts. Then, a familiar figure appeared, entering calmly, saying they came to speak with Rose directly. Rose met with several division leaders, discussing recent threats. Some questioned her past behavior. Others praised her. She remained calm, focused on her goal. Shifa's safety stayed her top priority. She smiled politely, then left the arena. Spectators whispered about her connection to Eva. Rose ignored it all. Her next task awaited, and she had no time for gossip. Reaching a ruined mansion, Rose paused. The place felt off. She entered quickly, searching each room. Her steps echoed through dust and silence. Something hidden was waiting deep inside. Rose noticed the painting looked strange. She studied it closely and gently moved it. Behind it was a sealed door, glowing faintly. She sensed magic and drew her weapon carefully. She cracked open the hidden chamber. Inside, a sealed scroll lay beneath traps. She disabled them quickly, muttering her frustration. Infiltration was tiring, but she had no other option. A loud sound echoed. The wall split open, revealing a giant beast. Rose jumped back as magic surged. A level 16 monster appeared. Her mission just became far more dangerous. The beast lunged. Rose dodged, noting its raw power. She countered with a spinning sword strike, but it barely flinched. Its magical defense was strong. Direct attacks wouldn't be enough. Trapped in a narrow hall, Rose struggled to maneuver. Her blades deflected off its hide. It wasn't just strong, it was enchanted. Her next move would need something more precise. Rose stepped back, sensing a magic link. The beast was being controlled remotely. She raised her weapon, speaking into the air. If someone was listening, she wanted answers immediately. A mocking voice rang from the beast. Rose narrowed her eyes, realizing someone was testing her. She confirmed the signal. The controller was nearby, using the monster to monitor her actions. She observed the creature's defenses. Magic shields spun in layers. The enemy had no intention of retreating. Rose smiled slightly, impressed. They wanted her data. She planned to give a surprise. Rose unleashed hidden spells and sword arts at once. The hall filled with light and movement. Her technique broke through layers. The monster staggered. It was finally starting to fall. Rose's attack shattered the entire building. Wood and stone exploded into the sky. The monster was gone. Dust filled the air. Nearby scouts braced themselves, shocked by the overwhelming force. Calmly stepping through the ruins, Rose examined the damage. Her face stayed composed. She reflected on the mission. Infiltration wasn't her strength, but she managed. Maybe she could improve. Officials ran to her with reports. Rose handed over remaining tasks and smiled lightly. She requested 2 weeks off. The job was done, and the city's threat was removed. Rose finished her report. Though infiltration was difficult, the results spoke clearly. With solid evidence in hand, she left the site. Her next goal was to find Shifa again. Rose walked toward the festival grounds, thinking of her brother. Suddenly she paused. Luciella was nearby. Shifa's match was about to begin. Something felt off, and she rushed forward. While Shifa faced trials elsewhere, Luciella returned from a completed mission. Confident and calm, she walked through the village. Locals greeted her kindly. Nearby, a group of bandits prepared an ambush. The bandits mocked her, unaware of her rank. Luciella responded without hesitation. Her chant summoned overwhelming power. Shadows rose, swallowing the attackers. She continued walking, unfazed by the brief conflict. She remembered her last talk with Rose. Perhaps they would meet again soon. As she walked toward the festival, she smiled softly, hoping others could enjoy peace like she did. After the battle, Shifa shared a quiet meal with Yulina. She congratulated him calmly. He relaxed, unsure how to spend the day. Yulina suggested exploring the festival to unwind. Their conversation shifted to friendships. Yulina questioned his social habits. Shifa hesitated, caught off guard. He admitted he hadn't made many connections outside his sister. Yulina looked unconvinced but understanding. Yulina explained the festival's purpose. It helped students connect and adjust to daily life. She encouraged Shifa to interact more. He nodded slowly, starting to realize how much he'd overlooked. Yulina suggested Shifa begin the day by reconnecting with classmates afterward. They would enjoy the festival. Shifa agreed. Unsure of what to expect, Yulina promised to guide him personally. While exploring, they found Ruelle playing a goldfish game. She seemed oddly focused. Shifa watched, then offered to win one for her. The challenge lit a spark between them. With effort, Shifa succeeded. He handed the bag to Ruelle, who accepted it quietly. She thanked him, holding the prize close. It became a memory both would treasure. Shifa brought up the talk of engagement. Unsure if it was serious, he asked Ruelle. She answered gently. Their decision rested with her older sister, and nothing was final yet. Ruelle excused herself politely, needing to prepare for the next event. Shifa stood silently. For a moment, he wondered if things would stay this way or change with time. Shifa found Leanne in the crowd. She smiled, having expected him. With a teasing tone, she mentioned the proposal. Then she paused, ready to respond to him directly. Leanne panicked when Shifa mentioned the proposal. She misunderstood his words. Shifa tried to explain it wasn't romantic. He only wanted to protect her. Leanne listened carefully, her expression softening. Leanne realized it wasn't a proposal after all. Shifa admitted he didn't dislike her but wasn't thinking about romance. She respected his honesty, though she still left with mixed feelings. Shifa watched her walk away, unsure how to feel. He wondered if he had said the right thing. Ahead, another task awaited. He shook off the thoughts and moved forward. Yulina appeared in casual clothes, surprising Shifa. She teased him and set rules for the day. No calling her teacher, no stiff behavior. Just a normal festival outing together. They visited a shooting game stall. Yulina joined eagerly, challenging Shifa to beat her score. Fireworks cracked in the background as they laughed. For once, Shifa felt truly at ease. As the festival continued, Shifa reflected. Yulina smiled more freely here. Her strict classroom tone was gone. He wondered if this version of her was the one she truly enjoyed being. Shifa and his friend entered a grand hall. A concert was about to begin. The performer, Iwareru, stood ready. Yulina explained this show was her way of proving strength. Eva sang under the spotlight. Her power stunned Shifa. Her presence was overwhelming. Yulina watched calmly, knowing this was Eva's declaration to the world. Few could stand where she did. After the concert, Shifa could barely describe what he felt. Yulina spoke of Eva's fame and mastery. Even her sister was a magic user. Shifa quietly admired their powerful legacy. Shifa wondered if Eva's concert helped prepare him. Yulina hinted at another reason she brought him. She wanted him to see something special before his upcoming match the next day. As they walked together, Shifa realized Yulina always considered his growth. She spoke calmly, but every step she guided mattered. Her actions quietly shaped his path more than she admitted. They arrived at a lookout. Yulina showed him the academy lit from above. Shifa sat, silently taking it in. The view was peaceful. For both of them, it meant something lasting. Without warning, Shifa grabbed Yulina's hand and activated a magic platform. He shouted her name and leapt forward. Surprised, Yulina followed, barely catching balance. Floating symbols lit beneath their feet. They soared above the city. Lights sparkled below as they drifted into the open sky. Yulina's eyes widened at the view. Shifa laughed beside her, finally sharing something unforgettable. Together, they looked down at the glowing town. The moment was quiet, filled with warmth. For a brief time, everything below them faded. All that mattered was right there. Shifa admired the view beside Yulina. He thanked her sincerely. The night helped him understand the value of honesty. She scolded him lightly for using her name too casually. As they looked up at the moonlit sky, Yulina reminded him to win the match tomorrow. Shifa nodded. The peaceful moment ended, but the memory stayed quietly in both hearts. The academy tournament entered its second day. Cheers filled the grand arena. Today's match featured the Royal Second Division versus Telta. Among the audience, Shifa and his team watched carefully. Shifa's eyes narrowed. Their next opponent was Yuva, a known singer and representative of the North. Rumor said she was also an idol. He wondered how that would affect combat. Suddenly, Yuva made her entrance with a flashy spin, stunning the crowd. Energy pulsed from her feet. The team stared in shock. This wasn't just performance, it was real power. Yuva sang brightly on the battlefield, filling the arena with rhythm. Her voice stirred hearts and amplified energy. Behind her, two teammates supported silently while she held the crowd's attention. Shifa's team was stunned. The performance looked strange, but it had magical effects. It wasn't just singing. Her song magic boosted her allies. They realized she was casting mid-performance. A sudden blast confirmed it. Her third verse summoned light magic and struck first. Shifa recognized the spell. Yuva had trained hard since their last meeting. This fight wouldn't be easy. Yuva's final verse surged with power. Her teammates glowed with reinforced magic. Shifa's group watched, stunned by the sudden strength. The spell wasn't flashy, but its effects were clearly overwhelming. The enemy trio charged with precision. Their movements matched the song's rhythm. With synchronized timing, they struck hard. The crowd erupted in cheers as Telta's formation overpowered their opponents completely. The announcer declared Telta the winner. Fans screamed for Yuva's team. Shifa stared silently. He hadn't even fought yet, but already understood what kind of strength they were up against. Yuva greeted the crowd cheerfully after her victory. She teased Shifa's team, saying they were next. Shifa watched silently, already thinking about how to respond. The pressure was clearly building. Determined to keep up, Shifa called for special training. His teammates followed him to the forest. They prepared a secret move, aiming to surprise their powerful next opponent in battle. Rose suddenly appeared, cheerful and loud. She called out to Shifa, waving him over. Though surprised, he smiled. Training could wait. For now, they would enjoy the festival together. Shifa and his team joined festival games with light hearts, but their focus remained. Rose observed their progress. She noted their growth and the signs of preparation against powerful song-based magic. Rose examined droplets on Shifa's cloak and smiled. She had figured out their opponent's trick. As she praised him, another instructor approached with a mysterious document they had discussed before. Rose encouraged Shifa with confidence, then left for her next task. Shifa promised to win. With the moment over, he turned to his team. Training would now resume in full. Yuva waved to the crowd, full of energy after her win. Her fans cheered loudly. Shifa and his teammates looked on, impressed by her presence and influence across the academy. As Yuva collapsed from exhaustion, her teammates rushed to help. She protested, trying to stay in character. Leanne and Shifa watched quietly, beginning to understand the burden she carried alone. Leanne approached Yuva to talk. Shifa followed. They wanted to understand her better before facing her again. Yuva turned around, surprised but still smiling. A new kind of match had begun. Yuva declared her mission as an idol was to make everyone love her. She proudly claimed that fans, opponents, and even people from Chaldea would eventually fall under her charm. Shifa's reaction amused her. She teased him for being Rose's brother. Though playful, her words hinted at rivalry. Her tone grew serious as she promised to conquer Chaldea with her magic. As the team walked away, Shifa reflected quietly. The moon hung above the academy. A question lingered in his mind. Something about the day's events still didn't feel finished. Shifa encountered a mysterious woman named Enel sitting alone. She greeted him with a calm smile and invited him for tea. Her appearance and tone hinted at something deeper beneath charm. Enel spoke cryptically, comparing Shifa to an old friend. She mentioned blood and bonds, unsettling him. Shifa listened carefully, unsure what she meant, but sensing her knowledge was not ordinary. As she stood to leave, Enel formally introduced herself. Shifa thanked her, still confused. Her parting words lingered. She spoke of battle not as conquest, but as shared understanding through challenge. Shifa reflected on the meaning of battle. He vowed to fight differently this time. The moonlit night passed, and morning brought the crowd roaring as the final match prepared to begin. The arena filled with energy. Chaldea's team stood ready, but Telta's group hadn't arrived. Then Yuva burst in, dazzling the audience. She announced the start with flair, voice echoing across the stadium. As her magic flared again, her teammates followed the rhythm. Chaldea's team stepped forward without hesitation. This time, they understood. This battle wasn't just magic and power, it was performance and will. Shifa confirmed the arena's defensive magic would protect them. He stepped forward confidently. His team followed without hesitation. The moment the signal dropped, they launched into coordinated motion without delay. Leanne cast a wide ice barrier while her teammate summoned a spiraling water vortex. The two spells merged instantly, creating a devastating combination. The whirlpool surged, swallowing the enemy's path. From above, Yuva's eyes widened. The spell twisted at high speed, dragging everything within. Even her teammates looked stunned. The crowd gasped. This wasn't just defense, it was a declaration. As the vortex spun faster, its power multiplied. Shifa grinned, ready to strike. With the momentum building, he knew their attack would land with full force. There was no holding back. Shifa launched himself forward, pushing through the torrent. He struck the enemy mid-spin. The impact cracked through the spell barrier, hurling both fighters across the arena floor in a blur. Silence fell before cheers erupted. Yuva's expression shifted. For the first time, her rhythm was broken. Shifa's counterattack had landed. The tide of the battle had suddenly turned. Shifa's strike landed cleanly. One opponent collapsed. He stood firm, his expression serious. With one enemy down, the crowd stirred. But Shifa knew the fight was far from over. Yuva watched quietly. Her formation had been broken for the first time. Still smiling, she acknowledged their strength. Then she whispered to herself, preparing the next part of her strategy. With renewed energy, Yuva rose and pointed upward. Her voice rang out. She called for the second act. Her teammates stood up. The next stage of the performance had begun. As the dust settled, Yuva raised her hand. Shifa's team stared in disbelief. She had recovered, and now announced the start of her second live performance mid-battle. With a fierce cry, Yuva unleashed great noise, amplifying her magic. Her song twisted through the air. Her rhythm was no longer cute and soft, it now carried raw strength. The spell launched. Shifa barely dodged as a wave struck the ground. Her speed had increased after recovering. The second act had begun, and it was more dangerous than before. Ruelle was struck defending against a surprise attack. Her barrier held, but the blow pushed her back. Shifa shouted her name. They realized Yuva's offensive pressure had sharply increased. Yuva's performance now controlled her ally like a puppet. Her spell's sweet noise didn't just boost, it animated. Shifa's team was stunned as the opponent moved unnaturally through the melody. From the sidelines, Telta supporters whispered, Yuva's magic overpowered her own teammate, turning him into a weapon. Her charm masked her control. Even now, some questioned if it was too far. The audience murmured. Even they felt the pull of Yuva's magic. Shifa's team realized it affected not only her allies but everyone nearby. Her song altered emotions and distorted perception. Yuva stood proud, commanding her enchanted allies. Shifa analyzed their movements. He proposed a counter. Millie would unleash their strongest spell. It was risky, but the best chance to break control. With a shout, Millie began casting. Shifa's team charged as Yuva commanded another wave. The clash erupted again. They knew this moment would determine who would fall and who would stand. Millie's attack failed to bring Yuva down. Shifa realized support magic alone wouldn't beat her. They needed to cut off her spells first. A new plan quickly formed between them. Shifa launched his spear at the caster's sigil. It struck cleanly, disrupting the magic flow. One of Yuva's enchanted fighters suddenly faltered. The support magic had finally been broken. The freed fighter regained his senses. He warned his teammate not to hold back. Even controlled, he knew delay meant defeat. Shifa stood stunned at the unexpected resolve in his eyes. Yuva smiled and began to explain. Her opponents weren't weak. They simply couldn't overpower her. Her strength, she said, came from a place where only the strong survived harsh winters. She spoke proudly of Telta, her birthplace, where weakness had no value. Even her rise to idolhood was born from necessity. Everything was earned with performance and unwavering ambition. To her, fans were tools. Her charm enslaved them. She planned to make everyone hers, including Shifa's team. With a grin, she declared this stage her nation of followers. Shifa listened to Yuva's plan with quiet disbelief. Her view of others as tools left no room for loyalty. But he couldn't ignore her power or her growing influence. He glanced at his team. Their faces showed doubt, but not fear. With calm certainty, Shifa stepped forward. He had fought alone before, but now he understood something deeper. Clenching his fist, Shifa spoke clearly. He would show her the strength of real unity. His party, imperfect but bonded, was ready. Together, they charged forward into the next strike. Water surged as Milerina unleashed her spell. The enemy staggered, unprepared for the sudden pressure. Shifa's team moved swiftly, their plan in motion, relying on timing and trust between them. While Shifa concentrated on sealing the flames, Milerina froze their movement. Ruelle closed in from behind, her strikes swift and precise. The enemy faltered, finally overwhelmed by their coordinated effort. Yuva watched, amused but surprised. Their strength held longer than expected. Still, she mocked their bonds. But behind every blow, every step forward, was a reason far deeper than pride. Shifa trained with Ruelle watching closely. Milerina criticized them, doubting their coordination. Yuva stood quietly. Ruelle remained calm, confident Shifa could adapt quickly even under pressure. Milerina's frustration only grew louder. Milerina lost her temper and stormed forward. She declared the stage hers, launching an aggressive attack. Ruelle pulled Shifa back. Yuva moved aside as sparks and movement took over everything. Shifa flinched. Ruelle countered immediately, shielding him. With flames circling fast, Milerina was trapped mid-air. Shifa steadied himself. Yuva observed silently as Milerina realized she couldn't break through their combined strength. Yuva stood confused, thinking she was the target, but Ruelle called out, ready to begin. She declared her plan clear. Shifa watched closely, knowing Ruelle would strike without hesitation. Ruelle activated her technique. Ice and flame twisted together mid-air. Yuva panicked as her defenses failed. The melting barrier weakened fast. Shifa noticed an opening. He shouted to Milerina instantly. Milerina raised her hand. She asked them to follow her lead this time. Gathering power, she began a chant. Her voice echoed with force. A new attack was starting. Milerina unleashed her strongest spell. Thunder cracked open the sky. The ground trembled as lightning poured down in waves. Ruelle shielded Shifa. Yuva watched in shock, overwhelmed by the force. Energy surged across the battlefield. Yuva screamed as lightning surrounded her. Her body froze. Milerina's chant ended. Shifa stepped forward cautiously. Smoke spread wide as the power finally began to settle. Yuva staggered, barely standing. Ruelle and Shifa observed her carefully. Milerina stayed alert. Yuva's aura still burned faintly. The fight was not over yet. They prepared for what remained ahead. Yuva struggled to stay upright, mocking their teamwork. She believed their combined effort was meaningless. Shifa disagreed. With firm resolve, he rushed forward and threw a punch filled with purpose. Shifa's fist landed with full strength. His eyes stayed focused. The force of his strike broke through Yuva's last stance. Dust scattered as he grounded himself and refused to stop. Shifa's punch landed squarely. Yuva's eyes widened as the impact broke through her defense. The force lifted her from the ground. Her body twisted mid-air, completely overwhelmed by the strike. Yuva crashed into the ground, her energy fading. The audience gasped. Shifa, Ruelle, and Milerina stood tall. The announcer declared their team victorious. Yuva's defeat stunned the entire arena. Shifa looked at her silently. Ruelle stood proud. Yuva lay still, questioning what happened. She muttered in disbelief. The crowd cheered. Shifa finally understood the strength of trust and teamwork. Yuva confessed she was used, forced to fight. She never truly wanted this outcome. Milerina listened quietly. Ruelle placed a hand on Shifa's shoulder. The battle had truly ended. Yuva's supporters stood up for her. They said her songs gave them warmth. Even without control, they chose to follow her. Yuva cried as she heard their honest voices. Yuva collapsed but smiled faintly. Shifa confirmed their full victory. Peace returned briefly. Then a door opened. Rose stepped forward. Her arrival marked the next unexpected challenge. Rose entered the dark chamber. Her eyes widened as a shadowy figure stepped forward. She whispered in shock, realizing the mastermind behind the Chaldea conspiracy had finally revealed themselves. Rose reflected on Shifa's unexpected victory. The crowd gathered for the final event. The arena filled with energy. Cheers for Chaldea rang out as the results of their training showed. Rose praised them proudly. Their wins saved the training grounds. Nobles had no room to complain. She called Shifa her best student. The team stood together, finally acknowledged and respected. Shifa and his friends celebrated with a firm fist bump. Victory was real. The rival team walked away quietly. Yuva crossed her arms, hiding her reaction but clearly affected. The festival neared its end. Laughter echoed through the arena. The crowd cheered loudly. An announcer called for attention. Rose turned. Shifa and the others followed her gaze behind them. Bright fireworks lit the night sky. Everyone stood together, silently watching. The arena glowed. For Shifa, Milerina, and Rose, this marked the peaceful close of a long battle. Milerina, Shifa, and Ruelle watched the fireworks, proud of their win. Rose thought about reporting the outcome. Celebration continued while Rose quietly prepared for her next responsibility inside the palace. Rose stood before the leaders. She thanked them for gathering. They were confused. Rose revealed she acted as a detective. She accused someone of plotting to sabotage Chaldea's position. Gasps filled the room. Rose explained evidence from a hidden contract. It revealed a plan to undermine Chaldea's success. She named a high official connected to the opposing training camp. Rose pointed directly at the training chief from La Delta. The man looked shocked. He admitted to a secret deal. Rose stated his plan risked Shifa and Yuva's lives unfairly. Another official stood up in denial. Rose remained calm. She explained both were involved. One had signed before the other. Her evidence showed both names tied to the forged proposal. The second man tried to argue. Rose named him as the top officer in the capital. His plot to transfer Chaldea's rights to La Delta was now completely exposed. Rose exposed both leaders' ties to forbidden contracts. One panicked, denying everything. The other lost control, summoning a monster by force. Rose remained calm, already preparing a magic circle herself. Rose summoned a powerful spirit called the Black Sword King. The crowd gasped. The summoned beast roared. Rose charged straight at the monstrous creature, ignoring the chaos it created. With precise timing, Rose struck hard. Her blade tore through the monster's limb. She calmly thanked the corrupt chief for making her next move easier with his reckless outburst. The defeated leader collapsed, his plan shattered. Rose turned and calmly left the hall. She believed the case was nearly closed, but something still felt unresolved deep in her thoughts. Rose traveled under moonlight. Doubts lingered about the First Division chief's behavior. She reached a hidden mansion. Her next mission had begun. The truth behind everything was not over yet. Inside, Rose faced a mysterious woman named Konoe. She confirmed involvement with the nobles and had ties to La Delta. Rose now faced the one controlling events from the shadows. Kono spoke calmly. She praised Shifa's team for surpassing expectations. She believed their actions brought hope. Rose listened carefully, noting the subtle way Kono defended the value of their efforts. Kono admitted she had secret influence. She had withheld her involvement even while supporting their win. Rose understood now that Kono saw the team as a necessary part of change. Rose questioned if Kono ever doubted them. Kono smiled without answering directly. She hinted at risk. If Shifa's team had failed, the consequences would have been far worse than expected. The case was closed. Rose resumed her duties. Kono assigned her a new mission. Meanwhile, graduation approached. Shifa's time at the training ground was ending, but his journey continued forward. Ceremonies began. Flowers filled the courtyard. Smiles and tears marked the graduation. Shifa stood proudly with his friends. Peace had returned for now, but their paths were about to split, teased each other one last time. Promises were exchanged. They would train harder, aiming to grow stronger. Their bond, forged through trials, stayed firm even after goodbye. Milerina ran up to Shifa, full of energy. She promised to journey with her sister but hoped to reunite later. Shifa agreed, smiling at her cheerful determination and honesty. Shifa spoke with others. Promises were made, including one with Ruelle to form a fixed party. As everyone left, Shifa realized one important meeting still remained unfinished. Shifa entered quietly. Yulina waited at the table. She welcomed him like always. Their final conversation began, filled with quiet understanding and the familiar rhythm they had built over time. Yulina smiled, expressing pride in Shifa's growth. She said his presence left a mark on her heart. Shifa listened, quietly thankful. They shared one last calm moment over tea. Shifa and Ruelle left the academy. He planned to visit his sister first. His journey as a magic knight was beginning. Ruelle followed, ready for anything the world offered next. Suddenly, a cry for help shattered the calm. Shifa reacted fast. Someone called his name in desperation. The peaceful farewell was over. His new path had already begun in chaos. Shifa charged forward without hesitation. The cliff crumbled beneath her, but she didn't stop. Her brother was in danger. She dove, reaching out just as the ground gave way. She awoke suddenly in a forest clearing. Her chest rose and fell with relief. It was a dream, but the fear remained. She called his name with uncertainty. The city streets were loud and crowded. Shifa moved slowly, lost in thought. Her body trembled slightly. Something was wrong. She couldn't shake the feeling the dream meant more. Shifa returned to town proudly. He walked through the streets thinking of Rose and past training. His destination was set. He headed toward the Adventurer Guild without stopping once. The building stood tall in front of him. Shifa paused to breathe. His heart pounded faster. He remembered entering as a trainee before. Now he stepped forward as an adventurer. Inside, he stopped in surprise. Rose was waiting. She greeted him firmly. Shifa smiled and stood taller. Graduation was over. His journey as a full adventurer had finally begun. Shifa looked ahead, thinking of how far he still had to go. He wanted to stand equal with Rose. She smiled, offering to help him understand the guild system. They stepped into the request hall together. Shifa stared at the wall of papers. Rose explained the rules clearly. He listened carefully, realizing how much depended on proper ranking and paperwork. He hesitated at the job board. Some missions seemed messy. Rose teased him. Shifa finally smiled, picked one, and followed her outside. Their next adventure was already taking shape. The clerk questioned Shifa's assignment. Rose stepped in, calming concerns. The woman recognized Rose's reputation and welcomed them quickly. Shifa bowed politely, while Rose handled the formal approval without delay. Rose led the way out as Shifa followed. The mission was now official. Their pace quickened through the gates. Beyond the city, wetlands stretched out across the distant horizon. They arrived at the marked region. Shifa observed the calm terrain. Rose explained the creature's trail. Their task was clear. Shifa nodded and began scanning the area for any signs. A massive plant monster burst from the ground. Rose stepped back and gave Shifa the lead. He advanced quickly and launched a clean strike, cutting through its thick outer shell. The fight ended fast. Rose praised Shifa's form. He relaxed and smiled. Together, they turned to leave. Suddenly, the ground behind them cracked. Something else began rising from below. A second creature appeared, hidden deep inside. Rose identified it immediately. This one was stronger and dangerous. Shifa gripped his sword again. Rose stepped forward, ready to fight beside him. Rose summoned her blade with confidence. Shifa watched closely as the creature emerged. She stepped forward, fearless. A circle formed beneath her feet. "Come," she said. Shifa stood silently behind. The monster rushed forward. Rose moved swiftly and struck cleanly. Her attack tore through its core. Shifa flinched at the precision. The battlefield went silent. The enemy fell without a sound. Smoke cleared. Rose stood tall, breathing steadily. Shifa ran to her, eyes wide. "Was I cool?" she asked. He nodded, overwhelmed. "Yeah, big sis, that was amazing," he said. Shifa and Rose surveyed the monster remains. They spoke about the strange request and its long distance. Rose explained rare quests and high rewards. Shifa listened carefully, absorbing every detail she gave. They returned home with meat and supplies. It was Shifa's first completed mission. He felt proud, holding the bag. Rose smiled gently. A staff member called for them with a message. Rose was summoned upstairs by name. Shifa asked if she needed him. She waved him off, entering the room. Shifa waited outside, tense, unsure what conversation was about to begin. A noble-looking woman entered the hall. Shifa froze, recognizing her presence. Others whispered about her strength. She stood calmly, elegant yet dangerous. Shifa stared quietly, unsure how to greet her. The woman was Ruelle, a top-ranked adventurer. Shifa greeted her politely. She smiled, explaining how she was assigned below her level to help balance numbers. Her tone stayed light, almost teasing. Ruelle finished speaking and left the room. Shifa bowed respectfully, promising to grow stronger. He turned away, thoughts racing. A new task awaited, and he was ready to move forward. Rose sensed something odd. She asked if anyone had arrived. Shifa described a silver-haired woman with red eyes. Rose panicked. She warned him never to approach strange women without permission. Alone in the forest, Rose smiled to herself. Fighting beside her brother had been her dream. Far away, a fox-eared girl floated midair. Calmly, she began to speak. Shifa entered the training room and found Ruelle waiting. She invited him to join. The room was empty. Ruelle smiled, saying this was a good chance to train together seriously. Ruelle demonstrated strength with heavy weights. Shifa watched in awe. She encouraged him to try. After training, they relaxed in the pool. Ruelle called it a cool-down, but stayed very close. Shifa grew nervous as Ruelle leaned in. She whispered softly, saying she wanted to be with him more. Flustered, Shifa looked away. Ruelle only smiled and moved a little closer. Ruelle stretched and smiled, saying she wanted to grow strong enough to adventure with him. Shifa blushed. She waved goodbye, promising another private session. Shifa stood frozen, heart racing wildly. Rose met with the fox-eared girl named Tamamo. Tamamo had healed fully. They exchanged thanks. Suddenly, Tamamo called Rose her sister. Rose was stunned and didn't seem to remember anything. Tamamo spoke formally again, explaining the mountain's curse would soon fade. Rose hesitated. Tamamo insisted Rose was still classified as dangerous. If Rose wanted to return, she had to take responsibility. Rose learned Shifa was already marked as her most trusted partner. Tamamo had filed it herself. Now Shifa's safety was Rose's duty. Rose accepted the role surprised but quietly touched. Tamamo smiled brightly and agreed to help. Rose walked alone, thinking about Shifa's growth. His eagerness to support others reminded her of herself, and it made her proud and hopeful. Rose held a new mission briefing. She read carefully. It mentioned a powerful threat. The task required deep investigation and caution. Shifa's name was included. Rose silently wished for his safety. The target was a violent dragon species. Reports of attacks had grown. The guild issued a top-level call. Rose realized this mission involved a united force. It would be her first, Rose left for her assignment, quietly telling Shifa goodbye. He stayed behind, reading her note. She asked him to eat well and take care of himself until she returned safely. Shifa wondered about Rose's urgent mission. He suspected it might involve Ruelle. Wanting answers, he headed to the guild hall. His mind raced with questions as he pushed the door open. Inside, Ruelle greeted him cheerfully. She had been waiting. Nearby adventurers whispered about them. Ruelle brushed it off, then smiled at Shifa and said it was time to begin their work. Ruelle and Shifa returned to the guild. Shifa felt ready for higher missions. Suddenly, they were summoned by the guild master. Both were surprised, but followed quickly into the meeting room. The guild master welcomed them. A new request had arrived. She revealed the client's name, Rose Arleon. Shocked, both listened closely. The request involved escorting someone important through dangerous mountain paths. The name mentioned was Tamamo. Shifa and Ruelle exchanged glances. Rose's involvement, Tamamo's role, and the task's nature all connected. A serious mission awaited, and neither of them could back down. Shifa and Ruelle accepted the mission. They entered the forest and found Tamamo kneeling. She thanked them sincerely for saving her life. Rose observed quietly, acknowledging Tamamo's change in tone. Tamamo explained the request. They were to escort a powerful sealed beast to the mountain's summit. Rose added details, noting the risks. Shifa listened carefully, preparing for the danger ahead. Tamamo proposed equal cooperation. She asked they treat each other as equals throughout the mission. Rose nodded in agreement. Shifa, surprised by her tone, accepted the condition without hesitation. Shifa recalled how Tamamo saved him during the blaze. She confirmed they would travel together. As preparations began, Tamamo shifted into formal tone, explaining the escort mission's true purpose and danger. They learned the shrine was the real destination, not just Iwareru. Tamamo insisted on entering with adventurers. Rose asked the reason. Tamamo said too many were watching, and secrecy was necessary. Tamamo laid out 3 routes. One crossed a northern fortress, another cut through the wild east, and one past the enemy zone. Each held risk, and they needed to choose carefully. Shifa remembered something strange about the shrine near Iwareru. They confirmed the second route through the eastern pass. Tamamo accepted the plan and promised to protect everyone along the journey. Tamamo clung tightly to Shifa, flustering him. Rose warned her not to get too attached. The group began moving. A local elder gave advice on how to blend with the area. The forest thinned as they left the region. Tamamo and Rose agreed to stay cautious. They would avoid unnecessary attention. Shifa walked ahead, focused, leading their way into the northern road. Shifa noticed Rose was missing. Ruelle suggested splitting into pairs. Tamamo quickly clung to Shifa's side. The next morning, they resumed their journey, reaching a village with little resistance or delay. They discussed heading east. Rose advised caution through the open plains. The roads ahead were peaceful, but unknown threats still lingered. The team pressed forward, alert and ready for anything. After days of travel, they encountered no monsters. Yet, a familiar path burned down before. Tamamo suggested rerouting east. The team agreed and turned toward the mountain with focused determination. Shifa sensed danger and warned the group. A black shadow surged from the distance. Tamamo held close, uneasy. A monstrous shape emerged, charging fast. Rose narrowed her eyes, preparing to respond. The creature roared, its form twisted unnaturally. Rose called it unstable. Tamamo leapt in, ready to fight. Shifa followed her lead. Ruelle raised a barrier. The battle had officially begun. Tamamo summoned divine power, chanting ancient words. Her spell activated, glowing fiercely. She called upon protective forces and cast blessings on her team. The group stood strong, ready to push forward. Tamamo summoned a divine strike. A giant peach spirit appeared and restrained the enemy midair. Shifa and Rose watched in awe as its massive power pinned the monster in place. Rose gave the signal. The enemy couldn't move. Shifa and Ruelle charged forward. Their weapons glowed. The moment was perfect. Tamamo's spell held tight. Timing was now everything for success. Ruelle struck with Ice Lance. Shifa followed with Durandal, cutting deep. Their combined attack tore through the beast. The creature shrieked. The team landed together, ready if it rose again. Tamamo showed off confidently after regaining her power. As the team prepared to move, they sensed another battle nearby. A second dragon appeared, already engaged with 2 unknown people fleeing danger. The strangers launched a powerful counterattack and defeated the dragon midair. Shifa and Ruelle watched cautiously. The newcomers approached. One called them hunters. Shifa narrowed his eyes, unsure of their intent. Two strangers approached confidently, calling Shifa's group hunters. Rose stayed cautious. Shifa whispered to Tamamo, who quietly observed. The man spoke again, asking if they were the ones who beat the monster. Ruelle explained they were adventurers. The man seemed amused, commenting on their level. He sniffed the air, claiming he smelled something stronger. Shifa and Rose exchanged a brief, uneasy glance. The man introduced himself as Fuels, calling the woman beside him his sister. He mentioned a pack of corrupted wolves ahead. The warning came with a smirk, unsettling but clear. Fuels reacted dramatically to Rose's presence. Phyllis teased him. Shifa asked about hunters. Rose explained they operated independently, often pursuing monsters for rewards. Their flexibility and survival skills set them apart. Tamamo recalled that many strange groups were gathering near Iwareru. Shifa noted that traveling alone seemed risky. Rose agreed they needed to stay alert, especially with Tamamo's seal still active. Fuel suddenly shouted about a treasure. No one was sure if he was joking. The group followed him toward Iwareru's sealed gate, uncertain of what lay ahead beyond the wall. The guard told them entry beyond the gate was restricted. Shifa suggested staying at an inn inside the tavern. Tamamo noted how calm Rose looked, despite being surrounded by strangers. Shifa spotted Gareth and Phyllis. Gareth mentioned hearing Tamamo might return to Iwareru. He told Phyllis the one they saw earlier was likely her. He seemed certain they'd find the treasure. Gareth planned to kill the guardian and claim the treasure. Phyllis warned him about dangerous beasts and strange movements. She admitted she still couldn't control her inherited axe properly in battle. Gareth assured Phyllis he could handle the situation. She asked if beginner adventurers would still be useful after the seal lifted. Meanwhile, morning arrived. Shifa quietly watched the town awaken. Tamamo thanked Shifa for protecting her in the forest and in town. She said it was all thanks to him. Then, suddenly, she leaned in and kissed him on the cheek. Shifa was stunned. Tamamo smiled playfully. Rose stepped forward and cleared her throat. Tamamo quickly expressed her thanks to Rose as well. Ruelle arrived right after, with a serious expression. Tamamo panicked as others saw her messy hair. Shifa found it amusing. A crowd gathered at the gate. The official announced that Iwareru's seal would now be lifted for entry. The gates opened wide. Shifa, Rose, and Tamamo rushed forward with the crowd. Lights burst from within. They sprinted down the wide road, their eyes fixed ahead, hearts racing together. The city shone under morning sun. Cherry blossoms scattered through the air. Shifa ran ahead with excitement. Rose and Tamamo followed, smiling, as the new chapter of their journey began. Shifa and Rose stared in awe at the city of Iwareru. Tamamo explained its ancient traditions and strong recovery. The group moved through streets filled with tourists, lanterns, and cultural charm. They stopped before a large tree. Tamamo explained it symbolized recovery, and blessing Ruelle noted its popularity. As they walked, a guide offered to take them to the Magic Guild. A woman in traditional clothing appeared, introducing herself as Kuro, a guild member. She welcomed Shifa and Rose. Shifa grew suspicious, wondering why the guild had sent someone directly to them. Kuro suddenly shouted at them to hurry. Shifa was caught off guard. She apologized and formally introduced herself again. Tamamo noted her behavior was strange but accurate in her knowledge. Kuro led them to a grand building. Its symbol marked it as the guild branch. She confirmed it was real. Inside, they followed her through halls lit with warm light. A relaxed woman welcomed them. She introduced herself as Kurenai, the branch chief and top-ranked adventurer. Rose recognized her name, remembering she had made waves even during her early years. Shifa praised Tamamo for completing her mission. She seemed calm but tired. Kurenai watched closely, then gave the signal. Tamamo nodded silently, knowing it was time to prove her strength. Suddenly, Tamamo and Kuro attacked. Kurenai declared it a test. Shifa and the others were shocked. Kuro saw this as their chance to fight a level 18. Retreat was not allowed. Shifa tried to summon Durandal, panicking. Rose reacted fast. Kuro moved swiftly. Kurenai launched her attack with full force. It wasn't training anymore. It was a real challenge, and it had begun. Kuro's scythe sliced the air. Rose covered Shifa, while Tamamo assessed the attackers. Kurenai smiled calmly, observing. She warned that hesitation could mean death. The fight had clearly become serious. Shifa realized Tamamo had always handled threats alone. Kurenai noted Tamamo's flame powers were extraordinary. Smoke circled. Tamamo released a flaming attack. Heat surged, and the room filled with swirling fire. The smoke cleared. Ice exploded outward. Ruelle cast ice blanket. The flaming force was instantly neutralized. Tamamo and Shifa watched in shock. The test was no longer about strength alone. Ruelle's ice attack exploded, freezing everything. Kuro's form vanished in the steam. Shifa shielded his eyes. Rose warned them to stay alert. The real test hadn't ended, only shifted forms. Kuro reappeared with precision. She praised their speed, but asked if they could handle this. She shrank the ground beneath them with magic, then darted toward Shifa with sharp intent. Tamamo saw Kuro vanish again. Rose yelled a warning. Kuro struck from behind. Her blade stopped just before hitting. Shifa stood frozen. The strike was clean, fast, and entirely controlled. Kuro's attack suddenly stopped. Shifa saw an opening and charged forward. He launched an attack while Kuro was mid-air. The blow landed, sending her crashing down. Everyone froze from the impact. Kuro landed hard. Both she and Shifa stared silently at each other. The room was still. Then, a voice interrupted. Kurenai called for the match to end immediately. Kurenai apologized for pushing them. She admitted the test was harsh but necessary. Both Shifa and Tamamo passed. Their level was high enough. Rose quietly admitted their teamwork was truly strong. Kurenai acknowledged Tamamo's resolve. She now trusted her. Shifa accidentally touched a sensitive spot, causing Tamamo to faint. As everyone watched awkwardly, Kuro asked if they should assign the next mission. Kuro assigned Shifa his next mission, to protect Iwareru's peace. Shifa repeated the phrase, unsure what it meant. Tamamo reminded him that protecting the town near the shrine was already part of his duty. Rose explained that while the idea was unusual, their role made sense. Kurenai clarified, adventurers fight monsters, but they fight to keep people safe. That includes defending Iwareru. She made sure he understood. Kuro mentioned Tamamo still hadn't completed formal registration. Shifa asked why. Kurenai explained that her trust level was approved, but strict conditions applied. A deeper bond had to be proven first. Tamamo couldn't be approved yet. Shifa was told she must prove she posed no threat to people. Kurenai acknowledged her instincts were sharp, but emphasized how strict the trust requirement remained. Kurenai explained Tamamo should be treated like a normal person. She asked Shifa to judge Tamamo's value based on actions, not origin. Kuro accepted the task and took Tamamo outside. Kuro scolded Tamamo for attracting too much attention. She reminded her to act properly in town. Meanwhile, Kuro reflected on Shifa. Watching him quietly, she found his presence oddly admirable. Kuro wondered what kind of adventurer Shifa truly was. As petals blew through Iwareru, Tamamo reflected on the peace they now protected, and how much that responsibility had quietly grown. Shifa acknowledged the Phoenix threat and their duty to protect both the city and Tamamo. Rose agreed the mission mattered. Garrett's group continued toward the mountain, frustrated at the lack of leads. Phyllis was stunned by the mountain's scale. Gareth explained Tamamo once sealed it. They overheard talk in a nearby town about monster sightings. Suddenly, someone recognized a woman sitting behind them. Gareth was surprised to see Rakia from the Hunter Guild. She greeted them brightly. Despite Gareth's suspicion, she insisted they were comrades. She claimed she disliked fighting and wanted to help. Rakia warned that upper-rank adventurers were being targeted. She hinted someone might be leaking information. Gareth remained cautious. Rakia's cheerful act did little to erase his doubt or ease Phyllis's concern. Later that night, Gareth spotted someone sneaking down a trail from Iwareru. The figure moved alone. Phyllis pointed out it wasn't a high-rank adventurer. They followed quietly, ready to observe more. Gareth sensed something suspicious heading toward Iwareru Mountain. He warned Phyllis to stay sharp. Soon, Kuro appeared in her kimono, calmly introducing herself as a member of the Adventurer Guild. Kuro stated that Iwareru Mountain and nearby zones were under restriction. Gareth questioned her claim, saying no such order was known. Kuro warned them firmly and activated a sealing spell. Gareth backed down but remained wary. He believed Kuro was hiding something. Phyllis agreed. They decided to quietly pursue the matter, convinced something unusual was happening behind the scenes. Kuro apologized for deceiving them but urged them forward for Tamamo's sake. Shifa and Tamamo argued, flustered. Still, they followed her into the forest, realizing the path was stranger than expected. They reached a massive stone staircase. Tamamo called it the 2,000-step slope. She explained only those summoned may walk this path. Shifa stared up, surprised by the endless stairs. As they climbed, the lights of the city faded below. Tamamo reflected on the journey. At last they reached the top. She pointed ahead, declaring the shrine was finally in sight. Tamamo softly called out to Shifa. Her voice trembled with meaning. Shifa looked back at her quietly. There was nothing else to say. The moment between them said enough. With no hesitation, Shifa activated the launch platform. The group stepped forward. Magic surged beneath their feet. In a flash, the platform ignited, sending them flying upward toward the shrine. As petals scattered through the air, Tamamo thought to herself. Their first journey together as three was coming to an end. Even so, she felt truly happy they shared it. The three soared upward, wind rushing past them. Shifa smiled with excitement, while Tamamo and Ruelle watched the sky widen. Their hearts raced, not with fear, but with a sense of arrival. Petals swirled around them as they reached the peak. Suspended in motion, they gazed downward. The light above shimmered gently. They landed, feet touching ground with soft surprise and quiet awe. Together, they stood before the shrine. Side by side, they faced its towering gate. Their long journey had brought them here. In that moment, they were ready to walk forward. Tamamo cried and clung to Shifa, her heart overflowing with gratitude. She finally said thank you. The three stood together, peaceful and smiling. Their journey had brought them closer than ever. The next morning, everything felt slightly different. They had grown. With new faces and new steps ahead, they moved forward again. Rakia smiled, waving them onward. The adventure wasn't over yet. Shifa stood between Tamamo and Ruelle. The tension rose as unfamiliar soldiers observed. Ruelle frowned, questioning the sudden visit. Shifa clenched his fists, waiting for Tamamo to explain. Tamamo bowed gracefully before leading them into her shrine. She thanked them for accepting the guardian request. Ruelle stayed silent, while Shifa nodded another mission was already being prepared. Tamamo proposed a new task involving foreign spirits. Shifa hesitated but agreed. Ruelle approved with a firm nod. The mood softened. For now, they would stay as protectors in training. Tamamo asked Shifa to consider staying. He hesitated. Ruelle stayed calm. Tamamo insisted they rest at the shrine. With a smile, she promised to check their progress again very soon. As they left, Tamamo watched with quiet satisfaction. Shifa and Ruelle discussed their training and what came next. They returned to town together, heading straight toward the Adventurers Guild building. Inside, Shifa and Ruelle checked for new quests. A few jobs were posted. Kuro greeted them at the counter and mentioned their request from yesterday. Shifa accepted. The next task began. Shifa suggested sightseeing while checking quests. Ruelle agreed quietly. At the board, they found little they could accept. As they debated, a woman suddenly called out to both of them. The woman apologized for the sudden approach. She acted friendly but vague. Shifa and Ruelle remained cautious. She hinted she had something to share, but asked them to just listen first. She introduced herself as Rakia Kalpa. Shifa gave his name. Ruelle stared, unimpressed. Rakia smiled and asked for time to explain. Ruelle sighed but agreed. Shifa prepared to listen carefully. Rakia explained her request. A dungeon held dangerous monsters. She needed help clearing it. Shifa asked for details. Ruelle listened carefully. The risk was high, but the reward was promising. Rakia reassured them of her strength. Shifa agreed cautiously. Ruelle remained suspicious. Together, they followed her out of town. Ruelle whispered doubts to Shifa but chose to stay observant outside the gate. Rakia waited with a group. She confirmed their arrival. Shifa stepped forward. Ruelle crossed her arms. The group gathered. Their temporary alliance was about to begin. Rakia explained the plan. She would take on dangerous targets while others handled weaker monsters. Shifa and Ruelle listened. The team moved out quickly. Tension rose as the forest neared. Shifa observed the other members. Ruelle warned him not to underestimate the quest. When monsters attacked, others panicked. Ruelle dashed ahead. Shifa watched closely as she engaged without hesitation. Ruelle cast her magic. Ice erupted and shattered the threat. The others stood frozen. Rakia praised her skill. Ruelle ignored the attention. Shifa smiled slightly. The mission had just begun. Shifa offered to help, but Ruelle declined. She asked him to stay back. Their group walked deeper into the area. A large dragon appeared. The threat level was extreme. Shifa stepped forward with confidence. He attacked first. Flames struck the dragon hard. Rakia vanished during the fight. Shifa realized something was wrong. The others shouted. Another monster had appeared. A second beast rushed in. Ruelle warned Shifa. He shifted quickly, blocking its strike. Panic spread across the group. Shifa gritted his teeth. They were facing more danger than expected. The dragon lay defeated. Rakia praised Shifa's strength. He denied it, brushing off the compliment. They discussed the strange behavior of the beast. Something about its power still felt off. Rakia explained that the creature was stronger than expected. The others prepared to return. Shifa stayed alert. He sensed something nearby. A dark noise echoed behind them. Everyone turned sharply. A new monster appeared from the shadows. The group panicked. Shifa and Ruelle stood firm. She identified it as level 14. The threat was real. They had little time. A massive dragon descended from the sky. Flames burst across the trees. The team froze in shock. Shifa and Ruelle stepped forward. The beast's power was stronger than anything before. Shifa identified it as a fire dragon. Ruelle confirmed it belonged deep in the Flame King's territory. Its presence here made no sense. The others began to panic behind them. Shifa shouted for everyone to run. The dragon roared. Dust and heat filled the air. Ruelle stood ready. Shifa rushed forward. The real battle had finally arrived. Shifa realized the fire dragon was heading toward the town. They had to stop it. Ruelle warned it was too strong. Shifa hesitated, then rushed forward to confront it alone. The dragon launched powerful magic. Symbols glowed in the air. Flames rained from above. Ruelle jumped to shield Shifa. He held her tightly as the attack hit the ground hard. The ground shook. Smoke covered the battlefield. Rakia lay motionless in the distance. The team stared in shock. Shifa trembled. No one expected the dragon to fight with this force. Shifa held Rakia, wounded and unconscious. He panicked. Ruelle shouted for him to think. The fire dragon was closing in. They had no time. They needed to fight right now. Ruelle promised to protect Rakia and the others. She told Shifa to trust her. He stood up. Determination filled his eyes. Together they faced forward. Their real strength was needed. Ruelle summoned her weapon. Shifa stepped beside her. The dragon attacked again. Neither of them backed down. The final battle had begun. Their next move would decide everything. Shifa stepped forward. He declared himself the dragon's opponent. Power surged through his blade. He launched his attack head-on. The holy sword glowed. The impact cracked the dragon's hardened skin. The strike landed cleanly, but the dragon did not bleed. Shifa was confused. Fire dragons were supposed to be alive. Something was off. Still, he readied his next attack. Ruelle supported the injured. Time was running out. Shifa summoned his next weapon. The giant blade Bahamut appeared. He leapt again, targeting the dragon's core. This strike had to land. Shifa saw a strange symbol inside the dragon. He launched his blade with force. The dragon responded by casting a massive spell. Shifa braced himself for the next barrage. Fireballs filled the sky. Shifa dodged midair. He aimed for a direct strike. Ruelle noticed the fireball's path changed. Something was manipulating the attack, she shouted, trying to warn him. Shifa's eyes widened. The magic shifted again. Energy surged around the dragon. The next blast was seconds away. He tightened his grip. There was no room for a mistake now. Shifa's final strike pierced the dragon. The body fell with force. Silence followed the impact. Everyone stared. The fire dragon, a level 14 threat, was defeated by Shifa alone. Ruelle and the others ran toward him. Rakia opened her eyes. Shifa stood steady, smiling. The team expressed disbelief. Taking down the dragon solo had stunned even the veterans. Rakia confirmed the task's completion. Shifa nodded. They decided to return and report. He glanced back once. The mission was over, but the dragon's presence still left questions unanswered. As they looked ahead, the dragon's body vanished. Everyone froze, Ruelle whispered in disbelief. Shifa stared forward, confused. The fire dragon was gone. No trace remained. Something was deeply wrong. The fire dragon's corpse vanished completely. Ruelle and Shifa stood stunned. They were certain it was dead. Shifa felt uneasy. Something was wrong. They returned to town to report. The guild acknowledged the dragon's defeat. Rewards were distributed. Ruelle received a rare potion. Shifa stayed quiet, thinking about the disappearance. Rakia smiled, hiding her thoughts. The town resumed its calm. The guild member asked about Shifa's magic. He replied vaguely. Questions lingered. They mentioned the fire dragon's blue flames. Shifa nodded, remembering the moment. He knew the danger wasn't over yet. Shifa sensed something familiar about the vanished dragon. Ruelle interrupted, reminding him of their next task. Rakia thanked them with a smile. They parted ways, each headed to their own paths. Rakia walked through the quiet street alone. A cloaked figure appeared and spoke calmly. He asked if she enjoyed the adventure. Rakia gave a vague smile and avoided the question. The man hinted at her true purpose. Rakia's expression turned serious. She mentioned Shifa. The man watched silently. Whatever plan they shared, it had just started taking shape. The cloaked man discussed the guild's real intent. Rakia listened calmly. She was given another rare potion. Timing the fire dragon's arrival had gone exactly as they had planned. Rakia smiled as she walked away. She crushed the emblem in her hand. Her expression darkened. Using others was part of the plan. She would keep going without regret. Back in town, Kuro reviewed the report. The fire dragon left no trace. Kuro noted it vanished without a body. Something was happening beyond the mission. The signs were clear. Shifa confirmed the fire dragon was created by magic. Kuro listened carefully. They discussed the rare skill responsible. Someone had summoned the beast intentionally. The truth was beginning to take shape. Far from Inari, in the capital, the Granzelia Guild stirred. A new report arrived. The city branch chief Kaiser stepped forward. A serious mission was already being prepared. A high-ranking adventurer named Yulina Eglain entered the hall. She was tasked to handle the dark crystal threat. The guild suspected the fire dragon was only the beginning. Chief Kaiser waited for more arrivals. A new woman stepped in confidently. She introduced herself as Aurora, a top-ranked adventurer. Her presence alone shifted the mood inside the guild hall. Kaiser explained the mission's urgency. Aurora listened and agreed to help. She asked about someone named Rose. Kaiser answered vaguely. Aurora smiled, hiding her thoughts as she prepared to leave. Aurora arrived at the Blackstone Palace. Another high-level meeting began. She was asked to review the request. She accepted without hesitation. The guild thanked her for her cooperation. Aurora handed command to another leader. A calm woman named Regalia took over. She addressed the group clearly. Her tone was strict. The room filled with quiet anticipation for the briefing. Regalia introduced key members and assigned responsibilities. Aurora stood nearby, watching in silence. The group included elites and rookies. Hidden among them were warriors skilled enough to complete high-risk missions. Everyone entered the meeting room. Strong individuals sat without speaking. Faces were calm, but tension ran deep. These were not ordinary adventurers. They had been summoned for something critical. The meeting room settled as a new figure entered. Eyes turned to her. Kaiser addressed the room. A missing member finally arrived, causing a stir among the assembled ranks. The girl, Eva, claimed she wasn't lost. Some members doubted her. Others whispered she resembled someone familiar. Aurora noticed the similarity and quietly mentioned Ruelle. Curiosity began to spread. Kaiser announced the start of the briefing. A woman with presence approached the podium. She introduced herself clearly. Ingrid, the supreme commander of the Royal Knights, had finally arrived. Gracia stood before the group and introduced herself as the second princess of Granzelia. She expressed gratitude to those who responded to her personal request and began addressing the threat. She explained the dragons had grown active near the border. Shifa mentioned the phantom dragon king Bahamut once appeared in similar conditions. Kaiser added the current signs resembled that case. Gracia admitted past delays in reacting to the dragon kings caused destruction. This time, they needed to act fast. She stressed that only those with strength could face what lay ahead. The past phantom dragon king reached danger level 25. Gracia warned the new threat could match it. Ruelle agreed they must act early. The location of activity was being narrowed down. The capital confirmed many adventurers were dispatched. Gracia named key danger zones, including the plains and Inari. Reports warned Inari might house the most dangerous case involving the berserk dragons. Rose suddenly volunteered to go. Her voice was firm. The room reacted in surprise. She insisted she was best suited. Yulina asked her to explain what made her so confident. Kreia stood and volunteered to go to Inari. Gracia asked her reason. Kreia answered simply that someone important to her was there. Gracia pressed further, hinting it might be love. Kreia denied it was love. She clarified it was about a younger brother. Gracia accepted this explanation and acknowledged the emotional connection. The room shifted focus back to the mission. Gracia explained the weakness of those with great power. She asked Kreia to understand her brother better. Rosa quietly reacted. The name she heard next struck a deep chord within her. As the royal meeting continued, her voice echoed. The name of her younger brother was about to be revealed. Outside, Shifa looked up, unaware of the truth about to surface.